stand and look at the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. We won't go around the room and ask you to give your names, except for our guests that are standing in front of us. I'd love to hear who's here, and do we have any other remarks from the public? Anyone want to say anything? Okay. All right, why don't you take it away, Mrs. Deely?
I am Barbara Deely, for anyone that doesn't know, and I have two groups representing the Extended Studies program today. So this is my 4th grade group of ES peeps, we call ourselves, and then the 5th grade ES peeps are over there. They'll go next. So the 4th grade has started, when did we start this? Probably October. I think, right? Yes. We started this in October. I presented to them this idea that I always wanted to do, but I wanted them to take it over from what I'd read about, which was to create a USA map on the playground and paint it. You can buy the kits of stencils, but I wanted them to use their math skills and create the stencils themselves and learn about scale and things like that. So the next slide shows you the driving question that we started with, which is, how can we create a giant USA map for the school? And from there, they generated their own list of questions that Ella has. You want to read a couple of them?
Some of the questions are we going to assign roles? Who will be our volunteers? Why do we need painters and stencils? How do we make the stencils? Where will we get the paint? Where will we put it? And how will it help?
All right, from here, I'm going to step back and let them take over their pitch.
Should we say our names now?
Yes.
I'm Ella Block. I'm Izzy Brown.
Cameron Faris cannot be here.
I'm Vivian Golovchenko.
I'm Angelica Katsiris. Condalia could not be here. Oliver Lewis also could not be here.
And I'm Ella McGovern.
And I'm Grace Whitney.
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
We will be presenting as to why you should give us permission to do this.
The groups and responsibilities.
I'm in the math group, and Rhea and Cam are also in the math group. Our responsibilities are the stencil measurement, the map measurement, ratios, pricing, and budget. I'm in the writing group. I'm Vivi. I'm Ella.
And Ollie can't be here.
Yeah, and our responsibilities were the slideshow and the letter to our administrators.
I'm part of the design group, and you are too. Angelica is too, and Ella B. And our responsibilities were to trace the stencils, make the game cards, paint and color and design, and do the design decisions.
What can students do there? The classes of 3rd to 4th grade could use this map by playing a game. Classes can take bags from the cafeteria to interact with the map. Some will have states on them with a state or capital or abbreviation on it, and they will have to find that state, capital, or abbreviation on the map. 5th grade cards will have Revolutionary War battles, and 6th grade cards will have famous landmarks on each. We have a lot of fun activities planned for this map. Another example of an activity is to use the map as a study guide for tests, quizzes, etc. For now, we will get right to the reasons why you should accept this.
Reason 1, games for students. The students can play games like this one game that is a memory game. You will have a student that looks away from the map while the other kids find a state to sit on. Then the kid that was turned around turns back around and guesses which state each kid sat on. If the kid's state is guessed, they are out. This is just an example of some of the games you could play on this map.
This map is not only a fun spot where students can play, it is educational too. We ESP students call it a learning tool. Teachers of the 4th and 3rd grades can use it as a social studies example. If 3rd or 4th students had a test about the U.S., the class could use it as a tool. 5th and 6th grade could also use it as an educational resource. If 5th or 6th grade student wanted to remember a capital or state name, they could come to the map at recess to figure out what state or capital they were thinking of. Reason number 3, this map will stand out. This map won't just let kids play on it and have fun, it will also stand out. It will have many different colors painted on it, on different states. They will feel like they can use the most logical and creative parts of their minds like we feel every day. Reason 4, the preschoolers can get a head start on the U.S. site. This map won't just be for the older kids, the preschoolers have an option to learn too. I have seen a preschooler complete a puzzle of the USA before and name some states. This map could let preschoolers get a head start at learning the states and capitals. They could experiment with the colors and designs on the map. It would help them learn their colors and name the shape a state looks like. This map could be useful for school events. People could use this huge map for school events. For instance, Get Moving Night. This would be a great addition to the activities because the adults can help their kids to memorize the states while enjoying the event and moving around. Even if they didn't, it would make more room for activities. Other things. Materials needed an estimated cost. The estimated cost is $270, and we're planning on getting some donations, and then also we're gonna have a bake sale or like a lemonade stand to get like some of the money that we need. How will we get the money for materials? We are planning to get the money for the materials from donations. We are planning on maybe having a bake sale, lemonade stand, or something like that. We will probably do this multiple times to get the money we need. If we have extra money, it will be set aside for repairing the mat if it fades or gets washed away.
Estimated timeline of the process. December through January, the design team creates stencils. The PR team pitches ideas and plans for funding. January through April, collect materials, solicit volunteers. May, paint the map. June, enjoy the map. If you accept the suggestion, we'll have to wait until the spring to paint the states for the hot top. During the time while we wait for the spring, we'll start another project. This is a video, and should we share it now?
I think we can just bypass it, but it gives everybody a good idea of what it might look like.
Games and stencils. The games that we made are, Rhea and I made a game for the 3rd and 4th graders where on the cards there's going to be a card that has the abbreviation of a state, and they put it on a state, and then on the back is the answer, and then one is the capital, and the same thing, they'll put on a state, and on the back is the answer. And then Angelica, Izzy, and Ella, yes, did it for 5th and 6th graders, where they did battles in the Revolutionary War, and they had to put the card on the state where the battle was. And then for 6th graders, they also have landmarks.
And we're also making stencils instead of buying them. So we used the Elmo to project a mini state 8 times the size, and it makes a stencil. And Idaho's pretty big, so it's like almost as tall as me. This one is going to be probably one of the bigger ones, but yeah.
Yeah, and the math team helped know how big we had to make it.
Yes.
Questions?
That is so impressive. Good job, guys.
Does anybody have any questions?
Good.
So where are you guys planning on putting this?
That was my question too, yeah.
On the hot top outside of the cafeteria.
Okay.
And we're gonna hang out the games in the cafeteria so teachers can go down and grab them and then go outside.
And you see every grade level having access to the activities that you can use with the map.
Yeah.
We've already measured the hot top where we'd like to put it, so
Yeah.
25 by 26 or like
35.
35.
by
35 by 36.
36. Yeah. And it doesn't go off like the pieces one.
Yeah.
Have you printed all the states yet?
No, we've done like
We've done
at
many.
least 20, like 20.
Yeah, we've done a good amount.
And then
Yeah.
while we were waiting for if you would accept it, we did a passion project.
Starting past.
Yeah.
Which state was the hardest?
Well, we're probably so far it's been Idaho, but
Because it's
the hardest one will probably be Alaska.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
we're not gonna make it the real size.
yeah, we can't. It's not to
California
scale.
would go off the whiteboard, so we'd have to do
Okay.
that.
And you guys will be the ones doing the actual painting and designing?
Yeah, we're gonna do it on a weekend in spring.
So is that prevailing wage, or how does that work?
Overtime.
Overtime?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Do it on Sunday.
Perfect.
Now, have the teachers been participants in, coming up with ideas and
Not
how
at
they're
this
going to
point.
use? Not at this point,
Now, at
okay.
this point, they actually came up with all those game ideas based on the
Amazing.
curriculum that they knew about
Yeah.
from their siblings and their friends. So then we will, once we had approval, we were gonna kind of bring in everybody else. And we thought about bringing, can I say this? The Girl Scouts. The Girl Scouts, we thought about bringing that in as maybe part of one of their badges, the painting on the weekends. Mixing with that. Anyone else have questions?
Yeah, I like that you have a very detailed plan from start to finish. I also like that you have ideas on how to raise money to cover the cost. I think that's amazing. So you guys should be really proud of yourselves.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, and we're getting porch and patio. We might get porch and patio paint so that it doesn't wash off.
Oh, good idea.
Yes.
Very
It'll,
good.
it'll have to take a lot to get it off of the pavement.
Well, thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, Brendan was just saying the other day.
Oh, the free library.
If you don't play basketball, there's nothing to do. And I'm like, so he's like, I bring a book outside and I read. Does he really? Oh, so he'll be the guy. That how Manning. He'll be the guy playing with the USA.
Thank you.
No, no.
Just hold.
This isn't here, right? Yeah, I don't know. Oh, this is the free library. Is it like?
Okay, switching gears. So this group is our grade 5 Extended Studies Program group. We started also in October, right? Yes. And I, again, presented them with an idea that I thought they would really love based on who they are. I had most of them in 4th grade, so I know them pretty well. And I started with the question again. Do you want to hear it for me? Thank you. Can I get it to change? So a little free library for those people that don't know, and I won't play the video, is a free library, and it's little. So you put it out in front of either a house, people have private ones, you put them in front of businesses sometimes, and people can drop a book and take a book, and it's honor system only. So we have lots of books already that I just have in existence, but we were also planning on collecting some. So through this, we went through the launch process, which is our design thinking process. Step one is always look, listen, and learn. So I presented to them what are some little free libraries, what are they, what do they look like? We found some great websites, we watched some videos of kids that had already built them. Step two is always ask questions in the launch process. So these are some of the questions that they asked. How do we make one? Where did the books come from? We needed to research all of these. Step three is the U in launch, which is understanding the challenge. Our driving question was how can we design, build, and install a little free library for our town? Then navigating ideas, which they'll talk about, creating and prototyping, which they'll talk about, highlighting and fixing, which they will talk about, and eventually we will launch it, which is we had to figure out where is it going to go, when will we install it, and how will we stock it. Originally, we had thought of making it part of the new development where the golf course is. That's a few years away, so we wanted some instant gratification, and we thought, well, that could be our second one or our third one. So we're starting with this one, but I'm going to let you talk about it, right?
Come a little closer to the mic.
You guys can go around the mic. And if you could just introduce yourselves, please.
We are the design team. Alexandra, Sophia, and Sarah. First, we researched the different designs that are possible. Our next step was to think of themes that would represent our town the best. Then we consulted with the PR team about adding a survey question for the students for advice and ideas. After that, we consulted with the building team about measurements and materials to consider. After consulting with the PR team and building team, we decided on 3 initial designs to present to the teams. After we presented the ideas, we asked for them to vote on their favorite one. Then we created a final design. Our last step was designing and creating book donation boxes. Donations. We made book donation boxes so you can donate books. Books donated must be in good condition. Donations could also be donated on Little Free Library's world map once we register it if the location is looked up. Anyone can donate books to Little Free Library.
We are the building team.
I'm Thomas.
I'm Adam. And I'm Davis. We are the building team, and we researched Northeast Little Free Libraries and looked at the needed materials. We found out what type of materials would withstand the weather conditions. We also researched the size and cost of the Little Free Library. Also, we researched what the measurements of the Little Free Library will be. We designed and built a prototype. That is what the Little Free Library will look like. And that's the prototype over there. But on the way here,
We took a meeting on the way over.
we found out the design when we collaborated with the design team. Some challenges that we faced were getting the prototype to stand up for more than a day without it falling down again. Our solution to that was adding sand into the tissue box at the bottom of the pole. Another challenge we faced was building the sliding door. What we did to solve that problem was adding elastics to each side of the door to make it move back and forth.
We also had to find out all the materials we needed. Some of the materials we needed were a pine frame with an inside measurement of 8 inches by 10 inches, pallets of fencing or wood, 2 by 2 by 11 wood board, a pocket knife, exterior wood glue, pipe clamps, 2 hinges, a cabinet knob, a sheet of clear acrylic, a very fine-tooth saw, and if your wood is 3 by 4 inches thick, you will need a 60 by 11/4 exterior wood screws, drill and 1/4 drill bits, a crosscut saw and whip saw, sandpaper, and exterior paint. These materials will make to the house to the right with a few modifications, which is right up there.
Funding. An estimated price of the Little Free Library is between $200 to $500. Some of our materials will be donated, like a chainsaw, sandpaper, a pocket knife, work gloves, safety goggles, a hammer and a crowbar for hard-to-put-in nails, and 2 hinges. We will try to get a volunteer who knows how to use the dangerous tool. The things we will buy are exterior paint, drill and 1/4 drill bits, pipe clamps, wood, etc.
We are the PR team. Shay?
And Aaliyah.
We started off by creating a survey for students about this project. We determined which questions are important to ask.
Then we emailed the building inspector about the permits and procedures.
Then we created a pamphlet, which are... brochures that we made about the local library, and
Full of
there
facts and
have
stuff.
everything about how it works, where it's
Location, our goal.
going, and yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we also collaborated with the design and building teams.
Then, what are the benefits? A local library for Middleton will bring the town together and create a community of readers. It supports learning for young readers, and little kids to seniors take parts. It shows you who are afraid of reading, we love our townhouse for books, and encourages good reading habits. When schools, libraries, and currents work together, it can be powerful.
Rules and procedures. You can leave a book and take a book. You don't need to leave a book to take a book. Please respect the Little Free Library. Anyone can use the Little Free Library. It functions on the honor system. Please don't cram books in a library that's already full. It is up to everyone to keep the library stocked with books. Please not vandalize the Little Free Library. Any questions?
That was excellent. Very good, John. You guys have any questions? I have a question. How did you decide which team you were going to be on?
Well,
We just kind of chose like what we liked.
so there was like an option of like what we were interested in.
Okay. And did you like the team that you were on?
Yeah.
We picked.
That's great. That's really great.
Not a question, but more of a comment. All of the things you guys are talking about in the other group as well, in regard to the map, collaborating, working together, emailing building inspectors, standing here tonight, making a presentation, making a pitch. Those are all skills that will serve you well as you continue through school and as you continue beyond school. And so it's exciting to see that you're engaging on all of that skill development now and using these projects to serve as a way to develop those skills. So you're doing a great job and great work, and it's exciting to see these things come to fruition at our school. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you guys so much for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Barbara, thank you very much.
That was
Much
great.
Hi,
appreciated.
happy to come back again.
Thank you.
I have more.
Good. We want it. I never texted her.
I don't remember. I remember that we did.
Weird.
Thank you.
Yeah, there should be an agenda in the shared drive.
She's not coming.
What do you mean, send
She
email?
texted me like,
Oh, I don't know. Usually I'm just looking at the drive, so I
had it
couldn't.
happen yesterday.
I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Okay, at least she's okay. I was worried. So what did you say?
I was gonna say, When I pulled in, I was like, yeah.
I'm glad I like threw a
I
brush
don't
through
know
my
about
hair.
that. I don't know about that. I would say
No
if it
idea
was
what
supposed to.
How often is that?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Usually
Just a
like-
full house.
I knew most of them.
Did you?
Yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah. Because 5th grade is then.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then a lot of my friends. Great job.
These are the good things you get to
Okay. Want to keep moving along here. Okay, we should approve our minutes. Did anyone have a chance to have you? I forgot to reach out earlier and remind us
So it's the one,
about that.
yeah, the 1/8/20 meeting, and just a quick
Okay.
welcome to Darcy. That might have already been done, but Darcy will be taking minutes for us moving forward. Lorraine is no longer taking our minutes, so we welcome Darcy and thank her for being here. On very short notice. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did Steve meet with you? Did that? Okay. All right. So you're going by hand for now. All right. Perfect. 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 All right.
All right, so why don't we just take a few minutes to review the minutes? If anyone has any updates or edits that they want to add.
Just go into suggesting mode.
Yep. Do you know how to do that? Great.
You just type in 2. One.
Thanks for making those edits, Diane.
All right, if anyone wants to make a motion to approve the minutes, or would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Anyone like to second that?
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. I think we're at the report of the superintendent.
Yep.
Scott, do you have any report?
Yep, a couple of quick items. The first of which is an update on 2021 school calendar and a conversation with our team who's been working on a presentation to share with the committee about professional development days. As you know, we have a number of professional development days in our school calendar. We are in the process of developing the school calendar for the 2021 school year, which I know seems crazy, but it's actually that's the time of year that we do these things. Labor Day is the latest it can possibly be this year, so just thank you again to the committee for having the foresight a few years ago to have our calendar bring us back before Labor Day, because it certainly allows for an earlier start to the school year. So we will be back on the calendar, the draft calendar that we have out right now. We will be back on Monday, the 31st.
Do we have a copy of that? I'm sorry.
August, not in there yet.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
I'll be back on Monday, August 31st, with teachers, and back with teachers on September 1st. So that's basically the last week of August. 2 teacher days on the 31st and the 1st. And then the 2nd and 3rd, as we have done in years past, have our students back on the 2nd and 3rd. And then we have that Friday off, that Saturday, that Sunday, and then that Monday. Labor Day is Monday the 7th. So Labor Day is very, very late this year. I think there'll be a lot of districts scrambling who typically come back after Labor Day this year, because you'll be starting school September 8th or 9th, which is an awfully late start to the school year. So we'll get the full calendar for the committee to see at our next meeting, but we wanted to also engage in a dialogue and a presentation tonight. And I think Diane and Sarah and Catherine and Christine, who have worked on a subcommittee on taking a look at our professional development days that we have, and an opportunity to provide more PD time or additional PD time for staff to do some collaborative work. So I will turn it over to that team. Sarah is Topsfield, Proctor School. Catherine is Boxford.
Hi,
and,
welcome.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Diane and Christine. And this is in the drive as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I can do that because I'm not voting.
I'm not sure why my clicker's not there, but you can see it. So we are here tonight to talk to you about our proposal to increase opportunity for professional development time during the school day for next year and consequent the years to follow. So we wanted to start by really focusing in on our vision, as you've seen over and over again, but it really has become sort of the heart of all of our decisions, and everything that we're doing, purchasing, planning, is really rooted in this vision. So Tri-Town School Union believes in nurturing a dynamic learning environment where creative thinkers and innovative problem solvers develop the empathy, resilience, perseverance, self-management, and kindness needed to positively impact the world. And the demonstration you just saw tonight was a perfect segue. Hard to follow that, I will tell you. But it was a great segue. It's just evidence of the kind of work that we're trying to do to accomplish this vision every day. So it was actually a good segue. So what we are hoping to use this time for is really to be able to emphasize and focus on systemic, job-embedded collaboration. So we want to increase the level of collaboration time throughout the school year for teachers to be able to co-plan, ideate, create interdisciplinary, deeper learning experiences for our students that will be engaging and motivating. Right now, our time during the day to plan with teachers is limited, and it only allows for some teachers to plan together, and other teachers are, so for example, our classroom teachers may have common planning time, but the specialists have the children while they have common planning time. So it's really difficult to find time to have our specialists collaborate with classroom teachers on a regular basis to plan these interdisciplinary units. So we're looking at trying to create more opportunity for that collaboration and to do the kind of work that we want for all students that you saw tonight. So we believe that this quote from Dylan William, that if we create a culture where every teacher believes they need to improve, not because they're not good enough, but because they can be even better, there's no limit to what we can achieve.
So what we're proposing tonight is to empower our teachers. You saw the vision that Christine shared with us and that we anchor all of our work in, but we believe that we need to make a technical change, which is shifting the amount of time in the school calendar in order to create the kind of adaptive change in our work, so that teachers do have the time, as Christine was saying, to really take a look at the standards and create the cross-disciplinary units of study in a thoughtful, planful way to engage students and to empower students. I won't read all of this to you, you have it in the drive, but I did bold specific words, clearly, intentionally, because it's something that we hope to create. And if we don't put the structures in place in our school calendar and give teachers the time to actually sit down with one another and take a look at the work that they're going to do with our students, then we feel as though it will take us much longer to fully realize the vision that we have for the Tri-Town students and for our teachers. So we're really looking at increasing passion in our teachers and most importantly in our students, increasing teacher collaboration and student collaboration. We want an increase in design thinking at the teacher level and at the student level. And most importantly, we need to provide regular time for teachers to be able to engage in this work. This is a snapshot of a study that was done recently. It's really from the Center for Teacher Quality by Barnett Berry. It's really taking a look at the opportunities that teachers have to work with one another, collaborate with one another, and most importantly, time to observe one another teaching. And in this study, it said that 50% of teachers in our country say that they've never even seen a colleague teach. Which really resonated with us, and we found that going in and taking a look at what others are doing is where teachers can learn. We have experts in our own buildings in every single one of the Tri-Town schools. We need to provide them with opportunities to get in to see what their neighbors down the hall are doing, to see what it looks like. We can share with them in professional development classes and workshops, but it's really when they get in, when somebody, one of their colleagues might be more apt to take a risk and try something out. They can go down and see what it looks like and be less
intimidated maybe by trying something out and see that it is something that can work with students. And the study also really cites other countries like Finland and Singapore that going in and looking at practice and working with one another and having job-embedded professional development, professional learning time is a part of the culture. And it's really cited as to why those schools are able to accomplish the work that we are aspiring to right now. This is just a quote, and I will read this to you because I think it's so powerful, and it's by thought leader Katie Martin. Learner-centered innovation, empowering teachers to integrate resources and tools to fit their unique context is necessary to leverage better opportunities for learning. We can continue to create new initiatives and programs, but if we fail to engage teachers and create time to integrate new learning, we will miss out on our greatest lever in educational reform. If we don't prioritize authentic and relevant learning experiences for teachers, how can we ensure that our students will have deeper learning experiences in a world that is dynamic and constantly evolving? Just a thought that I want you to sort of really think about and hopefully come back to as you make decisions. And just a graphic, it's a Katie Martin graphic, kind of taking a look at learning and agency. And you can apply it to adult learners and students as learners as well.
So when we started talking about the calendar and professional development, we went through all of our area towns and communities to see what their PD schedules looked like. And I think we were somewhat shocked and surprised at the amount of time that the teachers in nearby communities are getting. So as you can see, Masco has 7. I'm not going to read them all, but Masco has 7, but it varies from 4 all the way to Ipswich, which has it weekly. So you'll see, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but you'll see in our next slides, what we'll be proposing is it's a nice little happy medium, I think. Not looking for, certainly not looking for weekly, although that would be lovely. I know Catherine would love that. I would. Certainly not looking for weekly, but we are definitely looking for an increase to be a little bit more, just to gain more time with teachers and teachers to gain more time with each other.
What do we currently have?
We're going to show you right now. Here we go.
Good segue.
Good question. So this just takes a look. We looked at also all 3 of our towns just to kind of see where we are. So when you look at this chart, the things that are in blue are the opportunities for professional development and collaboration that we're wanting to add for next year. The things that are in white are what we currently have. So if we look at Middleton, we currently have 2 full days and 3 half days. We're looking to add a few more half days, delayed openings, or early releases in order to provide that teacher collaboration time. So I think if we're looking at it, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Just to add that we know that there's a discussion around the voting day
Yes.
eventually not being a full day of PD. So we are assuming that that is going to be coming off of our calendar eventually.
Yes.
And not have that.
We also know that there are still discussions about whether it's delayed opening or early release. We're not stuck or married to anything at this point. We're showing
our
sort of an
initial draft.
example of what we're looking at. And we'll certainly take feedback from the committees in regards to the thoughts about delayed opening versus early release. And the dates are even movable as well. So this is what we're proposing to you for next school year, 2021. And we are looking for sort of a rolling plan here. And this would be the proposed for the following school year, 21-22, which would be 2 additional days on top of what we're adding for next year. And at that point, the voting day would be going away for Middleton. And so it appears to be about once a month. I think in
9, I believe, delayed opening or early release in the end, and 1 full day in January.
And then one of the things that we're always asked to consider and to take a look at are what are the regulations that we need to meet from the Department of Education. So there is a regulation in Massachusetts. It's called the Time on Learning. And so in that is linked for you in the presentation if you'd like to go in and read it. But it talks about how schools must ensure that students receive a minimum of 900 hours of structured learning time per school year. And we are well within the range of meeting that time in looking at both the 2021 proposal and the 21-22 proposal. So we have done that analysis to make sure that we're providing our students with what they need and meeting the guidelines.
So just ending and saying something that we feel really strongly about. George Couros is someone that we have all read from, and we actually FaceTimed him at one of our ed camps.
Yeah.
So we feel really strongly about the work that he's done, and he has this quote that says, "Perhaps the amazing thing we can do is make growth mandatory for ourselves as educators as well as for our students, and that is how we can truly serve our children." And that's something that the four of us firmly believe in, and we hope that you'll consider our proposal.
Is certainly trying to continue to build student agency. There's exciting things happening, across the classrooms in all 3 towns, and in terms of as we move towards the vision. This is an opportunity for teachers to continue to work together, develop units of study. This wouldn't necessarily be professional development time that, we'd be bringing in a speaker or having, a mandate or a requirement that we often have to provide to our existing staff, but more an opportunity for, as the principals and Christine has mentioned here, an opportunity for teacher collaboration and development to continue to develop interdisciplinary units of study. You see things like this begin to happen. You see the work that's happening in our classrooms across both schools, and it's exciting to see the work that people are starting to do to marry more and more to the vision and develop that skill set that was evidenced here tonight. So that's the proposal for 2021 and 21-22. I think the main focus right now was on that, 2021 focus in terms of the addition of some either delayed openings, early releases, combination of the two. There's, I think, 4 additional looking to add in for next school year. So just wanted to kind of unearth some of the thoughts from the committee on that as we continue to take the road show into Topsfield and into Boxford later this month as well, but just wanted to collect some feedback from the committee members in terms of this.
I think it's a great idea. I think I have a friend that lives in Newton, and I think Newton has a half day every Thursday. So sort of on that note, I totally see the value in taking the time. But then I talk to parents, particularly where there's 2 working parents and it's like a scramble. Is there any way, I obviously don't know off the top of my head any of the dates that you put up there. Is it a Monday? Is it a Friday? Is there a way to do it like it's the last Friday of every month so then parents know in September? And the last Friday of every month, you need to be off, or I need to, is there any way to?
It's a great suggestion. Yeah.
Although, that said, like having the Super Bowl, even though we didn't plan this, but that's like a clutch morning, because everybody's tired, and I don't even know
That was not planned.
Yeah, no, I know.
Kevin and I did that years ago. We were like,
was a
oh my
mistake. It
God.
was a
Oh,
happy
really?
accident.
Oh,
was a
I
happy
figured it was
accident.
from years of kids coming in like.
No, it was a happy accident.
Oh, funny. Okay, so yeah, I think if the dates could be, a little bit easier for families, but I think
It's a great idea. We did look at, so one of the things that we've done, because we've had an opportunity over the years and in 3 different towns to try out different early release and delayed opening options. In our informal data collection over the years, we felt that we heard feedback that students who may, particularly at, well, not just younger level, but oftentimes in the primary building, do better coming in late to start the week so the rest of their week is uninterrupted. So the delayed openings we plugged in on Mondays, and that matches Masco's delayed opening calendar as well. And then we tried to strategically place some of those dates in Topsfield, for example, the Friday of Topsfield Fair, so you'll see that's one of the dates in there because Topsfield families get tickets to go early and they get to go on Friday. Last year, it was the Friday before Halloween, which was a wonderful thing for, for teachers. They were still working, but children and families appeared to like that schedule. But we tried to, and you'll notice in May, we have one, we tried to make the long holiday weekends whenever we could for families who wanted to travel. So we were trying to be family-friendly and thinking, and student-friendly and thinking about, you know, the times that we picked, but it's certainly, that's a good point. I live in Danvers, which has them monthly, and it's always a Wednesday, I always know. So it is nice to have that consistency as well.
But otherwise, I think it's great and very much, you know, valuable for the teachers and the children. You know, everybody wins.
Any other?
I have several questions. The delayed openings, speaking with parents, very disruptive to parents at work. I voted against adding more delayed openings, and we have 2 now proposing to go to 4. So that could be a problem. Also, how is the attendance with teachers on delayed openings? Is there any information on that?
Yeah, our
I've never
attendance.
noticed any.
Yeah, there's no, I've not seen any dip or anything like that, but
Even on Super Bowl, no?
Yeah, well, and
Yeah.
not only that, but anyone who was out, it was because they had the flu.
Right.
To be quite honest with you.
Okay. Would this add any professional development stipends?
No, this would be in-house sharing, collaboration, team planning, not bringing in
Okay.
outside.
Like I said, I'm all for the professional development, but the delayed openings, I'd rather them be early releases than delayed openings.
feedback. So
Yep, that is
this
good.
is all, you know, we take this around the 3 committees, we're gonna gather all that feedback and put something together.
I have a couple questions too. The 900 hours, and you mentioned that we're, you know, within a good.
above it.
We're well above it.
Like, what is well above it?
5, 6, 7% above.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, this isn't impacting hours of learning.
no.
I completely agree. I think this is the best way to, you know, sharing information, sharing best practices, things that have worked, things that haven't worked. I'm surprised you're not, what are you doing now? Is this not happening?
Teachers are doing a lot of, you know, summer work.
Yeah.
Which often involves a stipend. So this, and it's, if they are available, don't have childcare issues, it's who can do it in the summer to do types of projects like that. To be able to do it in real time and to be building these units and experiences for kids in real time with their colleagues and having the opportunity for that cross connection would be such a huge gain. So we are just, you know, our January Professional Development Day was 32, I think, different topics that our Tri-Town experts, all of our teachers in the Tri-Town came together and shared and ran workshops for each other. So, you know, it was the big day in the year that everyone comes back so excited about, like, they got to learn from their peers and colleagues, and we're doing it once a year.
Yeah.
So how nice to be able to really have that collaboration all the time. We're hearing all the time from people, oh, I didn't know that so-and-so was doing that. And, you know, and then they go in and see it, and now I've got people connecting across 3 towns because they saw our workshop in January on the 17th, and now they're collaborating with somebody across the town saying, I'd love to come see that, can I go over and visit your classroom someday? And so it's powerful.
Absolutely. I guess my only, you know, a couple of things around adding more days. So, you know, I looked at this initially and I'm thinking, okay, well, wow, I feel like we have way more days off than that. That's just the professional development. So it's really important to see it, you know, holistically. And I mean, I felt like the kids were in school for maybe a handful of days between like Thanksgiving and Christmas. You know, it just, with weather, and there's just so many other factors that adding 4 more days, if you will, because it does impact the day. I mean, that whether it's a delayed opening or an early release, it truly does impact the day. You know, is like contractually, is there a reason why you're adding 2? Okay, is it because of school days that you're adding early release days and delayed openings versus just another 2 full days?
Yes. Yeah, that would be a contractual.
To do it that way.
We need to do our 180 days.
Yep. Okay, so by doing the half-days,
Still considered.
4 half-days, it doesn't interrupt.
Right, and when we did calculate the time on learning, which certainly not dismissing the impact on families, but when we did calculate the time on learning, it factored in parent conferences,
Yes.
holiday, early releases before Thanksgiving, all of that was counted as part of it.
Including lunch and
Including, yeah,
recess.
we take out
and-
lunch, recess, all of that factored into the time on learning.
Any non-instructional time.
Yeah, that's what.
And I think from, on the instructional component, on the learning aspect, yes, but on the
Sure,
just in terms of
absolutely, right.
managing this,
Mhm.
because, I mean, in all
Right.
honesty, I'd never hear, oh, good, they have an early release, or we have to create a delayed opening.
Right.
It is an impact on the families as
Right.
well, and so we will get pushback on, hey, what's going on? Are you guys watching the schedule? How is this actually happening? And why is it happening? And I 100% believe in,
Job embedded PD.
cross-learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the right thing to do. It's just really hard to swallow 4 more days of interrupted scheduling.
And I think we did try to look at that when we were looking at the possibility of the days, like what made sense. And so, like in December, we know that we have some parent-teacher conference days, so we didn't add
Yeah.
or look at any other early releases or delayed openings during that time.
Okay.
So we tried to
Space it,
be
yeah.
aware of that and not add additional things to those months when we knew that we had other reasons for delayed opening or an early release, like the parent-teacher conferences.
Have you thought of, I know that a lot of the schools around here do half-day every other week, and what has been I'm not a proponent or opposed to it in any, because I don't know enough about that. But what is the thinking around consistent half-day or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be, I think
That's-
when the committee came to me, they were like, could we do a half day every week? And I said, I think, that's something we're probably gonna have to.
When are you gonna be proposing that?
Well, I think it's a slow,
Are we
it's a
just-
start
we're-
small.
okay.
I think it's a slow baby steps, right, towards, if it's the will of the committees to, engage in this calendar idea where we do provide job-embedded professional development for our kids, which, yes, it's an inconvenience for parents, but boy, does it have a great impact on learning and teaching, right?
Yep.
So it's like there is that sort of, rub of the two. So I think it's an opportunity, it's a step in the direction of, looking at additional PD time for those exact reasons as we've articulated.
And just to add to that, I think it would be a huge leap to go from what we have now
Sure, to 38,
that.
right.
And it would involve a lot of planning and all of that would need to happen. So for us, I think it was a matter of how can we continue to move forward with our goals of supporting teachers and ultimately the students without having as traumatic of an impact on the community. And we may look at next year and say, this is more than enough, we are good.
Okay.
We don't even need the following year to increase 2 more. Or we may say, this is great, 2 more would be perfect, and then we're good.
Right.
So it's really one of those things that we wouldn't want to make that impulsive jump immediately, that we'd really want to try it out and see how it works and the benefits and the pros and cons.
I have a question, probably more for the principal or the teachers as well. Do you notice when there's a half day, whether it's a late start or an early dismissal, that there's a dip in attendance? Like, do kids just blow the day off, do you find, or no?
I think it depends. I mean, it's hard to gauge that right now. I mean, we have the one from Monday fresh in our minds. There's a lot of illness.
Right,
available
right,
now. So
true.
for us to gauge that, it could be a matter of a parent saying, I'm just going to give them 1 more day as a half day anyway, kind of thing, right? And then they come back on Tuesday. So there isn't anything substantial that has jumped out at us.
We could get the data, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something
It would
we've
be
looked-
interesting to see.
We've looked at it in the past.
Yeah, we have.
When we've made these decisions, and we can bring that to the committees easily.
When you're in the classroom, do you find, like Freddie's comment, and I tend to agree with you, I prefer an early release just because the morning is bananas anyway, and particularly for parents who need to be somewhere and it's like, what am I doing with this kid? Like, where am I putting, it's easier to find, I feel like it's easier to find somebody from noon on than it is from 8 to whatever, 11.
what do you see, I guess, from the kids in the classroom? Is it more difficult to deal with kids when they're coming in at 11:15, like in there, maybe they've been sitting in front of a TV for 3 hours, or they've been eating candy or whatever, or is it easier to start out in the morning and let them go? What do you
I think
see?
it probably depends on the community, because in Middleton, we really haven't had that many delayed openings,
Yeah.
so students aren't really used to it. But I think in Topsfield, that's really part of your culture. You
We've
do.
had a few more, yep. We do our
Conferences.
parent-teacher conferences are one delayed opening and one early release, and that's just our opportunity to try to provide as many different times.
Sure.
So families have some opportunity and choice around it. I think one of the other things that might be something to consider too is when our teacher is the most available for learning too, and all of us, available for that active collaboration. And sometimes I think that's good first thing early in the morning, like you get to school, you're ready to go. I know that when we had done a number of delayed openings on Fridays, sometimes, you could feel like you're getting to the end of the week, it's 1:30, and now, we want to go and collaborate and, get our best work done. So I don't know if one is, stronger for children or for adults one way or another. Maybe a combination of both, allows for the best, learning and opportunities. So I think it's something to explore and take a look at.
I'd say at our age level, at our grade level, it's, it's kind of hard to be 5 and blow off school. You know what I mean? As opposed to like 18, where it might be a little bit different. So I think at our grade level, kids are like, oh, I'm supposed to be at school now, get in the car.
Yeah.
Mom and dad are gonna take me, or mom or dad are gonna take me, or whoever.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And then in terms of like delayed opening, early release, I think, again, at our age level, the kids they're pretty resilient.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, school starts at 11. Oh, I'm leaving at 2. Like, it's just, the day is just the day.
Right.
I don't think they give a lot of thought to, the later or the earlier, once they get here. It's like the
Right.
day just sort of begins and there's lunch and off it goes,
Yeah, okay.
So I tend to see that with kids of our grade levels. Yeah.
One of the things two more questions. When you do these PD half-day delayed opening days, is it amongst the Tri-Town? So are you always collaborating? No.
So no, we have some in common right now.
Okay.
So we have the February and the March, and then May, February and March delayed opening, and the May early release right now. And it gives us the capacity and opportunity to do that cross-collaboration, but we don't, so we have those options right now, but we don't always, necessarily, we might have other initiatives going on in our building, so we don't always take advantage of that. One of the reasons that the consistency across the 3 towns is so critical for us is we have a lot of teachers, so if you are the PE teacher, for example, you have one other person in your town that does your job, but if we have a common time across the Tri-Town, then all of the PE teachers can connect together and collaborate and work together. So it gives the opportunity for PE teachers to jump in with grade level teams in their own school, or to do that connection across with all of those types of positions, school psychologists, behavior specialists, all of that. It's nice to have that, opportunity to collaborate that way. So but we are proposing that for the majority of this time, it will really be building-based planning and collaboration.
Okay. And then we have tried to marry some of our dates with
Masco.
Masco. And do we do that with our delayed openings and early releases
The February and
now?
March delayed opening
Yeah.
is aligned.
Okay.
And I think those 2.
Contractual obligation
Yeah.
as to why they have to do it on or whatever days they're doing it.
Oh, yeah, they do.
But they've switched to all delayed openings, because of the research around students having more sleep. So they have switched and they're doing, their calendar is all delayed openings, I believe,
Yeah, I think
for
that's right.
professional development.
Yeah.
So they've made that switch there.
And are you, as you're building this out, are you paying attention to that?
Yeah, there were some definite overlap, but
Yeah.
again, I felt like we were looking at, there are certain days in each town that were already pretty stable, that people have, for whatever reasons, that they've worked really well. So we tried to honor those, and then if it made sense, add that same day in the other 2 towns, when we looked at the increased days.
Just another question.
Dr. Morrison, that 900 hours, is that based, what is that based on? 6 hours per day?
It's state regulation, Freddie. It's 990 at the secondary level, and it's 900 at the elementary
But
level.
how many hours per day?
Yeah, I mean, 180 times 6 is what, 1,040? So, yeah, a little bit under 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
180 days is a mandate. 180 days is a minimum, and the 900 hours is the minimum. And it's instructional time strictly.
Right.
What's 180 times 6?
1080?
1080, thank you, Freddie, yeah. So
Five
5 hours of instruction.
Okay. What's that?
So more to come.
Okay.
We still, we'll present the same thing in the other 2 towns, get some feedback. This has been great feedback for the team.
very helpful. Very good.
So then we'll kind of reconfigure, come back with a calendar for you guys to look at
Okay.
the March meeting that we can, make some decisions on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, thank you all. And then move into a little bit of a lightning round here, because we know we have some time we want to put aside for FY '21 budget deliberation. So very quickly from me, in the drive, there's a PDF document titled On the Desktop. As you know, the Student Opportunity Act is upon us, and there is additional funding available. It's $1.5 billion going into public education over the next 7 years. With that said, I can tell you that 35 districts will be receiving 85% of the money. So we won't see much of an increase in terms of any of the funding coming to our 3 towns within the tri-town. So that all the funds that have been put aside are for, there'll be about 35 districts total that experience about 85% of those funds. Regardless, districts have to put together plans that will talk about how they will spend the money. Again, our money will be a very short amount of money, so we'll still have to put together a 3-year plan on how we will spend that money and how we'll improve student achievement. When we find out what our final tally is in terms of money received, we will be working on that plan. The Department of Ed, I think, had the wisdom to, if you're a district receiving more than $1.5 million, you have to fill out a long form, if you think about it in the tax world. If you're a district receiving less than $1.5 million, and we will be considerably less than $1.5 million, I think we'll probably measure our increase in 5 digits, if I had to guess correctly. We'll have to fill out what's called a short form document. And so we'll be working on that in the days and weeks to come, and more information on that to be shared with the committee. But any of the funding that we experience from the Student Opportunity Act would be through circuit breaker reimbursement, and they'll phasing in the idea of reimbursing for transportation, which never happened in the past as well. So
Phasing it in over?
yeah, multiple years.
Okay.
Matt, what was it, 3 or 4 years, I think? Yeah, that they'll be phasing in that reimbursement, so,
Okay.
yeah. And then just really, very quickly, there's a folder in there titled Middleton School Committee Terms. It's actually the terms of all 3 towns. So Topsfield on the top, Middleton is in the middle. It's a Word doc. And I just want to verify that we have this information correct at central office, that I believe Christie's term expires this year. Freddie 21, Kristen 21, Jen and Natasha 22. Does that match members' understandings of their terms?
Yes.
Yes, okay, very good. Thank you very much. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Greenberg.
Good evening, everyone. For the sake of time, if it satisfies the committee, you'll see in my report, I have a financial report, food service report. What was also uploaded to the drive is the draft audit of our end-of-year financial report. For the committee that members that don't know what that is, every year at the end of the year, we have to communicate to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education how we spent our money. And so there's a specific involved financial document that we complete, and it is submitted to the state. It should reconcile with the town's financials as well as our own, and then we have to have an independent audit of that work. A copy of that audit report is in the drive for your review. So if it is okay with the committee, I'm going to stop my report, and if you have any questions, I can answer them now, or you can email me, because I think you're going to need the time for further discussion on the proposed budget, if that's okay with the committee.
Is everyone okay with that if we take a look at this? If you've had a chance to look at this, save some questions for later, but
They can all, anytime. Anyone who wants to get together
Okay.
over anything, glad to do it.
I'm fine with that. I think we should move through the budget, through the agenda so that we can get to our budget discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then over to the principals.
You want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. So we had, as Christine mentioned, we had our Professional Development Day in January, and I was really proud to say that we had 15 Fuller Meadow staff members who presented on that day, which I think is pretty great. So people giving up their own opportunity to have professional development so that they could teach others, so I was very excited about that. We also in January did our universal screening and our data days for our next round of RTI, so new groups were made, and that's been going well. Discovery Museum came last week for grade K, and so thank you to the PTO for bringing Discovery Museum in. Sounds like it was a great day. Today was World Read Aloud Day and Global School Play Day. They just put it all on one day, so it was a lot of fun here at Fuller Meadow today. And I just wanted to say a big thank you to Douglas Appliances of Danvers. I begged them for as many appliance boxes as they would get for me, and they told me they would find as many as they could, and then I called Mr. Clifford and asked him if he could help me transport them here, and he said he couldn't because he didn't have a vehicle large enough to do so. And so then I called Douglas Appliances and begged them to drop them off, and they did.
Wow.
So I had 12.
They're so great.
Yeah, it was really amazing. So great, huge boxes. Kids were really excited, and there are lots of contraptions around the school now because of Global School Play Day and appliance boxes. So
Now what do you do with this?
they're coming to your house.
They'll do the same thing they do at my house.
Yeah. No, so any questions for me? I don't have a ton. You're up.
I'll be quick as well. Our enrollment and staffing stays consistent. Biggest thing going on at Howe Manning, we are just finished day 3 of Sticks and Stones, which is I don't even know what you call them. They're a group. If you've ever seen the Broadway musicals, Stomp, the Stomp, with all the trash cans and stuff, it's kind of like that. They have set up all kinds of big round plastic barrels down in our cafeteria. The kids are drumming away. There's a 6th grade performance at the end of it next week. That information went home earlier this week from it as well. But all of the students have sessions with the group, but the 6th grade is the focus. They go more often, and then they do the big performance for both the school and parents as well. So that's it for me.
Quick.
Great.
Do you want me to do my request now or wait for the
Yes.
agenda? So we do have one request of the committee to accept a donation of $500 from Ray Gooley, who came and did a electricity presentation and does it annually for all of the students. He is asking to donate $500 to our gift account that we would then use to purchase STEM supplies.
Great.
And materials.
Okay.
We need a motion to accept the $500 gift from Ray Gooley into the gift account, if it is the will of the committee.
Anyone like to make that motion?
So moved. And then also to expend it, so then he doesn't have to come back and ask to expend it, right? Because you have a plan to expend the funds.
Not right now.
No, just to accept
All right.
right now.
Just to accept right now, yep.
Okay.
Ready, I'll second the motion.
Okay, great. And
Yes.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. All right, so principal Crest.
So, yeah, new business. In the drive, you'll find a letter that reads Financing Letter Notification. So Crest is one of our collaboratives that we work with. It's the Collaborative for Regional Educational Services and Training. I've mentioned at a previous meeting that the Board of Directors, in cooperation with the leadership team in Crest, has been exploring options of the sale of their Broadway location. Crest is looking to sell their Broadway location and acquire a new facility for over 3 years. The goal is to secure a location that will allow Crest to consolidate their operations into one campus that can serve their current populations and allow some room for extension or growth. The purpose of the letter is to inform you of the intent of Crest to enter into a mortgage for the purchase of 20 Shattuck Road in Andover, Mass. The notification aligns with the collaborative's articles of agreement that requires notification to member districts of our intent to apply for a mortgage for the property acquisition. The total price for the purchase price of the turnkey facility is $20.5 million and was approved by the Board of Directors on November 20th, 2019. They anticipate for applying up to financing of up to $18 million. Crest is currently exploring financing options with local banks and bond financing with the Mass Development for a lower rate. They've applied to Enterprise Bank, TD Bank, Eastern Bank, Northern Bank, Main Street Bank, Wells Fargo. They've also inquired with Caruth Capital regarding private mortgage opportunities. The options will be presented to the Board of Directors at a meeting on February 11th at that site. You are certainly invited to attend in this meeting and partake in the tour. Please note that without a viable financial option, we will not be moving forward with this project, so we'll continue to update the process as we move along. So just as part of the regulations of Crest, notifying the member districts of their desire to engage in a financial agreement to purchase a new property, and this has all been worked through the Board of Directors at Crest. So this is a notification to the school committees.
Where's the Broadway location?
Methuen.
Oh, okay.
Yep, in Methuen. So they are looking to consolidate their operations under one roof, and I'll keep the committee updated and apprised as we make our way through that process and have that meeting on the 11th.
Okay. All right. What else?
I think, Diane, you had a gift account request?
No, that was mine.
That was Jeff's. Okay, very good.
Okay, so.
Excellent. Look at that. We made up for some lost time there. We are only 7 minutes behind after being about 20, so that was good.
All right, great.
So FY21 budget deliberation. So I want to thank the committee again for Saturday. Saturday, as you recall, was our full morning meeting where we had an opportunity to present the full budgets to the committee, give the committee an opportunity to ask questions while we were there. Have a few updates for the committee since that time, and a couple of things to discuss as we make our way into any budget deliberations and questions. Happy to continue answering questions tonight for the committee members. We do work closely with the town, as you know, and in communicating with the town, I think, Steve, you had a communication with the town earlier this week around guideline?
Yeah, did speak with had a follow-up discussion with the town administrator, and even though it's informal, to get right to it, we're looking at a hard 4%. So, believe me when I tell you, a 4% guideline is not an unreasonable guideline. Historically, we've had 5% guidelines, but what has been communicated has been is a hard 4%.
And so that matches what we had discussed on Saturday when we met. And so the budget that was presented to the committee at our Saturday meeting was 5.61, I believe, Steve Greenberg?
Yeah, yes, sir, I believe I agree with you there, yep.
5.76 rather, I believe. And so that differential, you know, again, as the committee deliberates this and works on this process, from a 5.76 to a 4% guideline, that's about $220,000 is the differential between those two amounts as to where we sit today versus if the will of the committee is to go to 4, or if the committee wants to head in a different direction as well. So just I need to make the committee aware of that also. That is the guideline, but that also doesn't mean that if the committee wanted to pursue something above that, that it doesn't engage in a conversation with the town, or it's then an override circumstance or something along those lines. So as a committee, those are all dialogue and debate and discussion that you'll want to take under consideration as we make our way through this process. But just to give you an idea of the differential, it's about a $220,000 differential from where we are at this point in time. The other thing that I did for the committee as well, in the drive, I just want to orient you to this. There is a folder titled Facilities Info. I realized afterwards that perhaps everybody was not able to attend the TTU meeting that we did, where we went into great detail on some of the facilities requests, or actually all of the facilities requests. And so in that folder, there are 3 things. The first of which, on the way right, is the Word document. That is the job description, the full 5-page job description, just in the event anyone has particular questions around the operations supervisor and what the duties and job description of that person would be in that role.
Scott, I'm sorry, where is that?
There should be a drive.
It's in the Shared with Me?
It should be in the Middleton School Committee.
Oh, okay.
Our Middleton School Committee meeting for tonight, the 2/5
Yeah,
20
okay.
meeting. You guys have that?
We do.
Yeah. So the 2/5 20, 19, 20, yeah. And then tonight's meeting.
Okay.
And then there's a folder called Facilities Info. So then on the far right, as I said in the drive, you'll see the job description. The middle document, if you could open that one, please, it's the Tri-Town School Union HVAC Technician. And there are 8 slides in there which provide an overview of the services as we currently know them, the work orders that are related to HVAC that are in School Dude, the scope of HVAC work across all the 7 facilities within the Tri-Town. You can see the number of rooftop units and cabinet unit heaters and boilers and water pumps and so on and so forth. That's slide 3. That goes into slide 4, where it talks about all the equipment that we have that is HVAC related within our 3 towns. Slide 5 is the financial history that was presented at the TTU meeting. It's the costs associated with the HVAC maintenance repair for the last 3 complete fiscal years. You've got contractual, maintenance and repair, and then the HVAC total expenses across our towns. And then slide 6 is the HVAC financial. In terms of over the same 3 fiscal years, there were expenses in the following 3 areas: plumbing, refrigeration, and boilers. An hourly expense comparison, a prevailing wage job would be, probably a 6-figure role at a prevailing wage. And this HVAC technician, just as a reminder, is a cost-neutral proposal that is being presented to the committee. And then that last slide was just questions when we got into that. If you back out of that document, and Steve Clifford's here as well, so when we get into the budget debate and deliberation, if folks have specific questions about this, if you click on the facilities vehicle request, that was also information that was shared at an early meeting in December and then reshared again at the Tri-Town meeting. In the slides associated with this one, a little bit about facilities, 6 campuses, 425,000 square feet of buildings, in excess of 1.5 million square feet of property that's maintained. So the first couple of slides are about our facility, the what, when, where, and why, and then some slides on how we currently do it. And there were some pictures embedded in those slideshows that showed the Honda Fit that is used by our electrician, which is his own personal vehicle to transport ladders, extension ladders, pipes, Steve's personal vehicle to transport supplies and lumber and paint and things that often have to be chopped before they can be put into a personal vehicle because they don't fit in their full length. Slide 8, again, is a picture of the electrician's private vehicle and his own personal trailer transporting snow blowers from one facility at Aaron Wood after they were repaired back out to a school. Slide 9, again, with pictures of pipe and things like that on the roof of these vehicles, and then just a quick comparison in terms of, to give an idea of, is the practice of using personal vehicles a practice that is practiced in the other towns? And slide 11 really demonstrates that that is not the case. There are school districts all around us that do engage with the vehicle in order to move materials from, across the 7 buildings within our campus. So I just wanted to orient you to those 3. I realized afterwards that perhaps not everybody had a chance to see those from the Tri-Town Union Committee, so there's a lot of information in there. It might be something to even click through further if you get a chance after tonight's discussion, if there's more information needed. And again, Steve is here as well. And really the goal of tonight is to continue the vetting and answering of questions that we can for committee members around the different asks that were in the budget. And so with that, just been happy to engage in that larger deliberation with the committee and with our members of our team.
Okay. Did you mentioned that you might have some updates? Are there any updates that would help inform?
Yeah, that one update around guideline from Andy is one update. And then when Steve gets back, I know he's done an audit of levels.
Yeah.
And so what that means is when we talk about an audit of levels, thank you for mentioning the other update. When we audit levels, typically we communicate to our teachers and we ask our teachers, where do you think you'll be on the pay scale, next year based on where you are this year. And we get feedback and we see who's in programs and who's pursuing degrees and things like that. And oftentimes, when Steve audits those levels, there's an opportunity to audit that and say, well, I know that there might be a person who put that they'll be at a doctorate next year, but they're only at a bachelor's, and that would be quite a lot of work to get from a bachelor's to a doctorate. And so we look at that and we say, person probably won't get to a doctorate in 1 year's time. Like, that would be obviously a learning challenge to engage in all that amount of work. So Steve does that work with Mary Farley when we look at the levels and the auditing of the levels that occurs. And you guys go through those case by case and look at who's in programs?
We go into the files, look at everything, look at what they have for credits, and what the chances are of them achieving the number of credits needed to move to the next column, and then make what we also call an informed decision as far as, yes, they'll make it, no, they won't. So there is an original budget request in terms of the total amount and levels. And then when we look at the reality, every year we come back and say, don't think so. School committee, we recommend reducing salaries by this amount, which reflects, what we think in terms of levels. It doesn't take away from anyone's ability to continue doing the work. We're just making an educated recommendation to, or what we think is a good recommendation to the committee.
And did you and Mary come to a figure on that, Steve, a
Yes.
number?
The total value of levels in the budget is about $130,000, and what we're recommending is reducing that by 90.
So you think you could pick up about 90,000 in the levels after
Yeah,
doing that audit
just
work?
cutting the budget
90,000.
by $90,000, which would be distributed in the salaries.
And so dollar-wise, I could do the easy math, 130. That gets us down to 130,000 that we're really trying to look at,
Off the
if we're
220.
trying to get down to
Yep.
4%.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly, so you
What
order-
does the 90 what percentage does it get us to?
It's almost a percent. So if you think
Okay,
like 1%,
obviously.
1% is a little over, I think, 125,000.
Okay, all right.
So it's less than that, but it's
It's like about 4.5, or
you look at
4.7.
when you look at where you are and where you need to go, where in terms of dollars it's not huge, it's still going to be challenging because your budget is a very reasonable budget. It is not, it's still going to, you're going to have to deliberate to get, but that 90 is a big help.
It is.
And if you can put that into your model, Steve, to
Oh, yeah.
Kristen's question,
Yes, well,
if you were to, the 5.7, what did I say?
Yeah,
6?
1 second.
The 5.76 becomes what with the 90?
1 second. I have to do.
No pressure.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we're not watching you.
Exactly.
I need to, can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, exactly.
5.04.
Say it again.
5.04.
5.04.
That gets us to 5.04?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so that's not much.
Yeah, you won't see me on Jeopardy anytime
No.
soon.
All right, so,
And if the committee does want to take that action, or you can wait, you just want to vote it, and then we'll update things as we go along.
and you feel
Yes, I mean, we do it every
confident
year.
that we can?
We've gone
Yeah,
through
I
the
know.
process that we go
Yep.
through, same process. We just actually did a little earlier this year.
Okay.
And my opinion is not going to change. I mean,
Okay.
literally, Mary goes through every file, and she's
Okay.
looking at all the PD, and,
Yeah.
Yes, my answer is yes.
Then, I'm fine getting down to a more realist,
Yeah.
the absolute.
Yeah, that's the committee, that's something that the committee wants to vote on tonight.
Is okay
and
with
allows
that?
Steve to memorialize that and move the budget in a direction more towards a guideline.
Would anyone like to make the motion to adjust the budget based on
Levels on it.
levels analysis?
I'll make the motion.
Someone want a second that?
I will second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, no,
So
thank you.
Steve, just for the committee and for newer members, when we do this, veteran members will remember this, but when we do this, anytime we take a motion like that and vote that, as Steve presents the budget to you in future meetings,
Mm-hmm.
voted on, $90,000 reduction, voted on, February 5th, and then, so we'll just we'll keep that history as we go along.
Right, it's called, we call it an adjustment sheet.
Yeah.
So it is a running tally, so that you have a record of, okay, these are the actions that you've taken, and you're not, tasked with like, oh, what did we do? So we do that throughout the process.
All right,
All
so
right.
what would you suggest an approach to take
Yeah.
as we go through this? Because there's a lot to deliberate probably on, and
Yeah.
I want to be mindful and effective.
Sure.
Okay.
So we're doing it a couple of ways.
Mhm.
So like we met with, in Topsfield the other day, they had the requests that were in the Topsfield budget, and I said to Cherie, so if we try to attack them all in one night, we'll be there until about 12:30.
Exactly.
And that might not be productive.
Mhm.
So why don't we say we'll do these 3 things at this meeting, and we'll talk about these 3 things at this meeting in terms of requests and things along those lines. So that's one way that we could pursue it tonight. We could say tonight, we're gonna talk, like Steve's here tonight, we could talk about facilities tonight, and we could talk about anything that's related to Christine's department tonight, and we could talk about, an item that might be connected to a principal tonight.
Okay.
And kind of see where that deliberation and debate gets us, and then if there's still other items that we want to talk about, we might say, okay, maybe we want to add a meeting. If we want to put another meeting in between now and the March meeting, that's certainly an option that we can take as a committee. Or we can say at our early March meeting, we're going to, also then debate and deliberate upon these things as well.
And what's our objective to finalize? We need it done by, what's the date?
We need to have a public hearing
Yep.
on our budget at the April meeting. Steve Greenberg confirmed that for me, correct?
The first April meeting, it is the
Okay.
that first April meeting, we do our public hearing, and that's where the school committee votes.
The final
the
budget.
and you vote,
School choice.
School choice as well.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 public hearings.
So that first April meeting, and so, Boxford kind of already has, some extra meetings built in. Topsfield just tucked one in, February 25th, and so it's just the kind of getting a sense of how far we get, and if we need to add a meeting, we've done it in the past.
Yeah.
We add that meeting. And so as we look at if you go to the, in the budget book, if you go to the narrative, and if you go towards the end of the narrative, in there you have the requests, right? So you have grant writer, we have operations supervisor, we have HVAC, frontline, facilities utility truck, reconfiguration of IT, library hours, kindergarten assistants, CCIM math and focus, which again, we're engaging with the town about, is that something that we can pursue on the warrant article route? Nurse assistant, special education teacher, guidance adjustment, and then the pre-K aid. So as you look at these proposals, we could take them sort of the order that they're in. If you want to take them by department, again, we have Steve here tonight. If you want to start with facilities, and then also with Christine here tonight, any of the items that might be related to Christine's department, that's certainly one way that we could go.
Okay. All right, thanks, Scott.
Sure.
So I'm fine with going, and based on that, maybe just throw out there, is there anything on here that we absolutely want to, keep in the budget that, maybe start there, like, almost like low-hanging fruit? Like, what do we definitely feel strongly about keeping in the budget, maintaining in the budget? And if there are, we can just sort of work around that. Is there anything based on what you guys have heard and talked and thought about since our Saturday meeting or since receiving the binders that you feel strongly about?
I mean, I like the idea of the kindergarten aides,
I-
just because
the same.
I'm a mom of a kindergarten, I see how wild the class is sometimes, and I can see the need.
Okay.
And I had a question about something we didn't talk about, the front line. Now, I see Middleton shares 17,000, but I had how many hourly employees do we really have? Most people are salary, right? And then also, are there a lot of costs with keeping it up? I didn't know anything about it. I don't think we talked about it, but it was.
So this is definitely more Christine, but it's,
Okay.
it's frontline, but so the question is, and Jen, why don't you just repeat the question? I don't need to.
How many hourly employees do we have that would use it?
So can you clarify what component of frontline you're referring to?
The time and attendance. I thought it was just for hourly employees, smart clocks, right? It's not for salary employees.
So I can try to speak to that. It's
Couple of different
definitely
pieces
not
to it.
my,
Obviously, I don't know.
my realm, but, so the time and attendance piece is all of our custodial staff, all of our instructional assistants, anybody who is an hourly employee in the district would be using that as, it's not a punch clock, but it's that similar type of way to track time, whereas right now,
Okay.
they're all filling out timesheets, and then it's getting reviewed by the secretary, and then getting reviewed by the principal, and then getting carried over to central office or scanned, so there's multiple steps in that.
There's a lot of hands on hourly employees, so as Christine just said, anyone who's not a teacher, for the most part, you could tend, if not an administrator, not a teacher, tends to be in that hourly realm. Our Unit B people in our other towns, our ESPs or custodians and things like that. So that frontline request gen does have a couple of parts to it. So frontline is, think of it as like a parent company, right? Frontline keeps buying up all of these different modules, right? That, you know, maybe use this module for this module for this module for this. Well, we've kind of been a frontline district for a while for some of our bigger modules.
Right.
Now frontline has, you know, bought like the time and attendance component, and they purchased this time clock piece as well, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what that second bullet point is, when you see the Pro Touch Point smart clocks.
Yes.
Right now, we don't have a real sort of clock in, clock out, particularly for our custodial staff. It's all done through the, you know, the honor system
Right.
In a lot of ways, and,
Yep.
and verifying hours through, you know, what happens at the school-based level and through senior custodians and things like that. But that part of it, the touch point smart clocks, would allow for, you know, more of like a logging in and a logging out.
Yeah.
The app, what it allows is for like what's called like a geo-fence. There's an app to log in on, but you can only log in when you're at the school.
Right.
It fences off, like, if you're 3 miles from the school, you can't actually log in. It can only happen when you're, you know, sort of there.
Okay.
So that's that component of it. The onboarding piece, Christine, is HR.
Yeah, so the onboarding, so as Dr. Morrison mentioned, we've been using what we were referring to, and you may have heard at some point, is My Learning Plan, is what all of our staff uses for professional development tracking. We've been doing that since the early 2000s when the program was new. So when Frontline bought out My Learning Plan, and they were, My Learning Plan was a great company and program, but they were small, and Frontline bought them out, and it really actually added a whole lot of capacity for us and different resources and abilities in the programming. Shortly after that, you may, I don't know if you're familiar with, ASOP is a common substitute procurement program. We did not have that here. We were using very sort of an archaic model with the phone call in the morning. So we were looking to purchase that. We're in the process of looking at it, and Frontline bought that. So now Frontline Professional Development and our absence management all speaks together. So our special ed program module, EastBed, we've been having a separate relationship with that company for years. Frontline bought that. So now all of this is under one umbrella for our teachers, including their Health Master, I believe, is our health module for the nurses, is now under that umbrella as well. We do not have any onboarding software. Teachers come in and it's our employees come in and they're filling out hand paperwork and submitting that, and the file cabinets are growing. And so we are looking, Frontline has a module that allows new employees to come into a district. They get an email, they've got the 12 forms that they need to fill out. It automatically, it's the same program that they will be registered in for their evaluation model, their professional development, their when they're out sick, their absence tracking, all of that. So it's all now under the one sign-in. So we sort of added all these other components before we added the foundation. So we're looking to add that module, and just as a reference point for that particular module, the cost for one town share of the cost is about I think it's like $1,800 for Middleton's share of the setup, and then it's roughly $2,300 a year license for Middleton.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, five people. The middle one.
Yeah, okay.
Five people at 15.
They're down, it's all shifted one line down.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. It is. You're exactly right.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Sure.
So there's multiple, within that software, it's not like one thing. It's helping to, again, we're always striving for efficiencies. So it's helping us be more efficient in terms of how we process payroll through the timesheet model, right? It's helping us be more efficient in terms of the clocking in and clocking out of, custodial staff. And then the onboarding piece that Christine just talked about with the HR, and then the Canvas LMS piece as well as,
Yeah, we've had that.
we've had that. Yeah.
So it's a $17,000 expense now, and then it's a $2,300 a year.
So it would be, overall across the whole tri-town, I think it's like $13,000 total. It'd be divided by 3. 4,200 or 4,500 of it is the initial setup, to get us set up and running in the system. And then from there on out, every year, it's roughly, I think it was like $2,800 a town, but it would be, that's not exact, because it would be the prorated amount based on the apportionment in each town is how we figure out the billing of that. So it's not necessarily a third, and third. But yes, under $3,000 a year to maintain that license for all that onboarding.
All right, so why don't we do that then? Why don't we approach it, page 1, when I kind of threw out the low-hanging fruit, why don't we start with grant writer and see, just curious to get a take on where your head's at around that, if you have any questions about what we're trying to accomplish here, how the initial investment, will eventually hopefully pay for itself. But is this something, how do you guys feel about this?
I mean, go ahead. I like the idea of it paying for itself. I think you have to spend money to have the money come in. It kind of goes back to the wants and needs, and is it more important than anything else on here? I don't know. I would tend to say that I think it would probably be money well spent, but that's just my opinion.
Pays for itself, so, I mean, you could get a lot out of it just for spending the 20,000, and, I mean, sounds good, why not?
And the way it was gonna work, Scott, this person would support, all 3 towns.
Yep.
And in terms of writing the grants and allocating the money back, is it specific to the school, the way, how do grants, generally?
Yeah, it would depend upon the grant, right?
Yeah,
I think
okay.
the person would seek out grants that would impact and have an effect on all 3 towns,
Okay.
right? Like programmatically could
Yep.
affect the work that we do in all 3 towns. I think ultimately, in terms of like the paying for itself piece, it wouldn't necessarily be the person's salary is embedded in the grant. It'd be
Right.
more a function of, hey, we now have a grant for the next 5 years to fund X, now that no longer has to come out of the operating budget.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that's how we paid for that,
Right.
$20,000 for that person. So that's typically how I've seen them unfold.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal would be to try to divide the time a third, a third, a third?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, yep. So they might be working on grants for all 3 towns, they might be working, I'll do this specific grant for Middleton, and then I'll spend a little bit of time, maybe this specific grant for Boxford, this one for Middleton, so Topsfield, if that's what the grant opportunities that are out there exist. But oftentimes, a lot of these grant opportunities, you want to partner with another community. You have a better chance, if you're partnering with a community that has a different profile. And so sometimes you'll see, when I worked in Andover, Andover and Lawrence would often partner on grants because it increased the chances of getting the grant as well.
Yeah, I kind of look at it as an investment in the future. It's not something we're going to turn around tomorrow. Yay, it's paid off. But in order, in a former, before I had kids and everything, I was worked for a company in corporate philanthropy, and so I was pretty familiar with grant writing, and I think it would be beneficial to us in the long run, because a lot of times, if there is nobody full-time working to find these grants, we're not opening the doors to those different programs and opportunities. So, yeah, I think it's money worth spending. But again, that's
okay. Did we vote on? So
You might want to, I think you'd probably be better off having like a fuller
overall?
discussion.
Okay.
And
All
then
right.
kind of going back and revisiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that's the grant writer. Why don't we go down the list? The operations supervisor. Curious to get some feedback from this group, from our group, on some of the thoughts we might be having, questions we might have. We do have Steve here. Thank you, Steve, for coming. Why don't we start? There's 3 asks altogether. There's the truck, there's the operations supervisor, and then there's the HVAC mechanic. So we can, perhaps talk about all 3
Yep. Makes sense.
now. Anyone want to open up the discussion?
I mean, I can definitely see why they would need the truck. I mean, I've seen the video, and obviously, using your own car isn't working out, so. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, I totally agree. I think
Yeah.
the truck is.
A good idea.
Yeah. good.
Have we ever had a vehicle before?
Like that, Freddie? No. No.
What have we done before?
How have we done in the past? What you're seeing in that slideshow there, it's always been personal vehicles, it's been,
Rental of POVs.
rentals, yeah. Yeah, right, rentals.
Is there any kind of liability in having someone use their personal car for town? I mean,
Yeah, the liability that comes to my mind, Natasha, is, the 12-foot, 15-foot ladder on top of a Honda Fit.
Right.
Probably shouldn't be transported with a Honda Fit, falls off the middle of 114, someone runs it over.
Right.
It's just it's using, not using the vehicle as it was intended,
Sure.
right? I think is probably a good way to say it.
okay.
Steve, would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I think that's quite accurate.
And again, that is it's, the way it's presented in the budget right now, it's a one-time purchase across the 3 towns, and at a minimum, a 10-year asset is how we're looking at it. It's not a take-home vehicle, as we said, it's a vehicle to just the day-to-day facilities needs among the 7 buildings and the facilities projects that we have. So it's a one-time expense, other than the insurance and the gas, which would be built into the budget in future years. So.
Okay.
I have a question. I just want to know. I think it's on slide 9.
Of the truck presentation, Freddie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what one of our maintenance workers is driving a BMW?
That'd be me. It's almost 20 years old.
Not that you have to justify that. Not that that needs to be justified.
That was just a joke.
Okay. Operations supervisor, HVAC mechanic, thank you for providing all that backup information for us in the drive. That helps seeing what the job description looks like.
Yep.
Because I think, some of the questions coming back were around, level in which you're hoping to hire, especially for the HVAC specifically. And, do you need someone at a senior, more experienced level, or could we afford to hire someone at a more junior level to take care of, the needs that you have for HVAC needs that you have, with the understanding that for bigger projects, you're probably going to have to outsource anyways because the equipment needed and things like that. I guess, asking, but also stating, where our heads are at there. The other question I had was, how, when services are built, when there are requests that come in and services are performed for the 6 or 7 buildings that, fall under facilities, is it billed out? If you hire an HVAC person for Hal Manning, is it Hal Manning's dollars that are spent to cover that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because, as you see in the budget process, we develop budgets for every facility.
Yeah.
Whether it be on the ed side, the facilities, it's all in there. So, yeah, I use the phrase costs go or costs belong, so, because otherwise, we do it for tracking, but we also do it for budget development, so everything stands alone, to itself.
Do you have anywhere where you have some sort of tracking in terms of the costs allocated towards Hal Manning and Fuller Meadow? And you know, what
Yeah,
the
because-
HVAC expenses have been?
Sure, and it's actually in the HVAC information.
It is?
Yeah, it's a 3-year look back.
The 3-year look back, this is for all 7
Right, and the
properties?
reason why I did that is because it's a tri-town ask.
Yeah.
So it's an apportioned expense, it's an apportioned budgeted piece. So I'm giving you, I'm giving you the tri-town view of what it costs across the board.
You know, but I think what I'm trying to get at is, you know, how can we better understand, you know, what Middleton's costs are?
Well,
Or expenses are related to HVAC needs?
Yeah, I can, garner that information, but I can tell you for sure right now, it's at least a 2-to-1 ratio in terms of our expenses versus what we have budgeted for the HVAC tech. Both in contractual work and also maintenance and repair on-call work.
And the other way to think about it, Kristen, is in the budget, right, as Steve talked about, you've got facilities line items. And within those facilities line items in Middleton for Howe Manning and for Fuller Meadow, you would have your expenses for HVAC, plumbing, carpentry, Steve, I mean, all the different vendors that you work with, those would be coming out of the specific school line items, correct?
Yeah, so like, for example, maintenance contracts related to HVAC are gonna go to planned maintenance of building. And the reason why is it's something that's planned, it's deliberate, we know what it's gonna be, it's usually somewhat of a fixed value. Where the on-call, the time and material type work will go against equipment maintenance. So those are the breakdowns, those are the emergency calls. So that's where those type expenses will fall.
Can you help me find it here?
Steve, when it says contractual,
Steve Greenberg.
so HVAC maintenance contractual, what is the contract for $90,000? 9124.
That's the FY19 contractual, Freddie?
Yeah,
On slide 5?
but who was that with?
Hang on, so you're talking slide 5 here?
What's the expenses for HVAC service?
Okay, so contractual, again, is gonna be fixed cost type contracts. So those are gonna be mostly like preventative maintenance contracts.
Right.
So there's no repair.
Who were those contracts with?
What companies?
Yeah,
A variety of companies, like E&E Systems is one of the major ones.
but what are we getting for $90,000 if it's just maintenance?
It's a lot of maintenance. I mean, they're on site virtually every month. So I can give you more of a breakdown, but if you look at another slide in terms of the equipment, and understand that this, that 90,000, is not all Middleton.
Right.
That's a lot of contracts across the tri-town.
So Freddie, if you go to
I
slide 3
understand
and
that,
4.
but for a maintenance contract, seems like a lot of money.
No, it actually isn't.
No?
No, I was doing this back in the 90s, and I had one building that was 90,000. And it's
But a
pretty,
building- a
because those
building like-
contracts are pretty bare bones, because it's PM only, it's not, and also the visits are pretty bare bones, because, it gets to the point where you end up can't affording it. So, they're not, they don't supply a lot of consumables, they're not supplying any repair parts. All that's, as soon as they find a fault, it reverts over to equipment maintenance as a time material or a quoted job.
A building like Howe Manning, it's fairly new, system's fairly new. How much service would that require?
So, a building like Howe Manning is in its 9th year of service. So it's actually, as you look at like ASHRAE standards that govern HVAC life expectancies, an RTU is a 15-year life cycle. So we're actually in the second half of life already.
Yeah.
It seems new, but and of course, as you get into the second half of a piece of equipment's life, you're gonna expect a higher occurrence of repairs. So the honeymoon is over, and we're gonna continue to see, escalated repairs.
All right.
So, would that contractual work be eliminated by hiring?
No, because there's, in the case of Hal Manning, and in the case of some of our other campuses, there's DDC control systems that are proprietary. They have proprietary software and firmware upgrades. It's not, it's not unlike our phone systems and other systems we have that we cannot completely disconnect from the manufacturers or service providers, because they have access to, components and services and softwares that we don't.
So we would end up.
So we can't divorce ourselves completely.
We would end up calling someone in.
Certain type of people, like in the case of that's a DDC technician, so his tool of trade is the laptop. He doesn't even typically even have a tool belt. So he comes in, he plugs into panels all throughout the building and talks to the system and evaluates, programming code and things like that. Where the HVAC tech will impact is more on the mechanical side, which is another element of those contracts. But we're gonna have an opportunity to look at doing stuff in-house or releasing it and doing it, through subcontract, but we're gonna have that opportunity to evaluate those cost points.
Steve, are we seeing a and forgive me, I haven't gone apples to apples from last year to this year, but is it clear that there's a decrease in HVAC-related costs or budgeted costs that will offset and pay for the
Right, so the
position?
HVAC tech, the way that it was budgeted.
Yeah.
Was I completely absorbed it within all of the 3 districts' budgets. So Middleton, its share, and Topsfield, and Clarksville, et cetera. Having said that, the facilities budget that you see for FY '21 is essentially an FY '18 budget, because I had to do that. So, if it wasn't gonna happen, then I would have to modify the budget to what it should look like in FY '21.
Because of HVAC?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, all right,
Those dollars just go
Yes.
back into the repair and contract lines.
all right. Does that make sense? Thank you. All right, any other questions about HVAC? Facilities supervisor? So you are looking to, this would allow you to increase the capacity of the facilities department to address the daily needs of the 6 buildings. Is it really 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Aaron Wood is the 7th building.
So we believe that HVAC is a cost neutral because that was taken out of the budget, or out of our existing line items, thank you. The operations supervisor, I know this is your 3rd year in requesting this. And I guess, we do have to be mindful of the fact, especially in Middleton, that we are going to be, going to the town asking for a significant increase because of town buildings and administrative, town buildings that we're going to be looking to. We have a whole roadmap, as you know. And so I think, we just have to be prepared as a school committee that, folks in town are going to be scrutinizing our budget maybe a little bit more closely than they have in the past. I'm anticipating that. And so I need to be prepared. We all need to be comfortable with, getting up in front of the town and saying, we fully support this for these reasons. And I think one of the questions that may come back is, okay, appreciate that you've been asking them for this for years, but you've been able to make do. And so is this the year, given the circumstances of the town and what we're trying to do with this budget, because we do need to decrease costs, how do I defend that? By saying what's not getting done, I guess, or what, how do I defend that? So that's my position on this supervisor at this point. Because it's an add to staff. We're adding and also with the HVAC, we're adding a head count, which means it's, that person in perpetuity. We are going to continue to give that person increases and insurance costs, whereas HVAC is a the contract. HVAC contractors is point in time. It's not carrying overhead. I do think that that's where we need to feel comfortable and confident with whatever decision we move forward with, but I do think that that's going to be the questions that are going to be asked as we move forward with this budget.
Right.
So I'm just being completely honest with you and, where I am coming from. I'm not sure, open to the rest of the committee, chiming in and seeing how you guys feel about this, where your head's at, what questions you might have, and, what strong feelings you might have.
My feeling on it is very similar to what you just stated. I think this is going to be a big year for Middleton in the next several years in terms of cash expenditure, and it's tough because you have been making do, so it's hard to then say like what changed. It's hard for me to really understand it. I would like to think about it a little bit more, and I'd like to read through the whole thing and sort of chew on a little bit more, but sitting here right now, my thoughts are very similar to what you just stated.
Yeah,
Same here. Freddie, thoughts?
I'm actually thinking of making a motion to not have any new increase in spending. And that would be about $360,000 saved. And then if there is important needs that we feel we need or want, we could add it in after that. But to be fair, I say no new spending, and we work from that. That $360,000, that's almost 3% of what we need. That'd bring us down to 2 point something, and then I think as needed, what we felt that we really want, we could add in. I mean, that's how I feel.
Okay, I think, that's sort of the approach you guys take with the budget in general is, how do we get to that point, and then what additional, based on the needs of the district, what else do we need, what added spending do we need to put forth in the budget? So I don't know, are you making a motion?
I will make that motion.
Would anyone like to second that motion? Do I even have to do that? No. Okay, so we're just going to move forward with.
So does Steve, do you want Steve to respond to a couple of questions about the ops supervisor, just so the committee has, as much information as possible in terms of being able to deliberate and debate? So I think, Steve, the questions that came up were around, you may do, and, if you want to speak a little bit to some of that.
Yeah, so I guess, on the make do part, I guess my response to that is we haven't been. And I'll start first of all with our main day-to-day tool, school do. So as I left my office today, we had 1,651 new requests that I haven't even opened up. That work's not even measured in days, weeks, or months. That's like years worth of work. So that's a huge hole. So when you say make do, are we canceling school because of facility-related issues? No. But we literally fall behind every single day. There is no keeping up. There's no staying up. We haven't been staying up. And You know, we've been understaffed for a long, long time. So I appreciate the perception of making do, but that's not the reality. And certainly the project pace that we've been on, I would say, you know, overhauling water treatment plants, we had the Fuller Meadow project, then we got right into a two-phase, 3-year project at Spofford Pond, then we got into simultaneous building envelope projects in Topsfield. And then Howe Manning is, you know, we will start to look at projects there, and we still have another sizable project here. We're looking at very large projects in Boxford for site work. You know, that will make me essentially a full-time project manager. The idea of running the day-to-day operations will be, you know, might as well be in another continent. It will not be, you know, anywhere near my control. So that, I mean, that's the reality of it. So, you know, I guess, again, I appreciate the fact that it looks like we're making do, but I can, you know, in the trenches, in the bowels of the facility department, no. No, you know, there is an enormous amount of work to keep the portfolio of responsibilities turning every day. And again, we start every day behind and we fall further behind.
What big projects do you see at Howe Manning?
Well, again, Howe Manning is gonna be turning 10. And so the increase of breakdowns and failures will start to continue. That's basically a rising graph.
There's no big projects on the horizon?
No, like, town meeting, multi-million-dollar job, no.
Okay.
But the maintenance will continue to elevate.
Here, you could be looking at site work.
Yeah, we have a site work
We have a
project here.
feasibility study happening here around. It's something that we've talked about in the past. This is our one campus that only has one entrance and one exit at the same. You know, there's not 2 ways in and 2 ways out of Fuller Meadow, and that poses lots of safety issues. We've talked to the town about this a number of times, and so we engaged in a feasibility study, and we'll see where that goes when they come out and do an existing conditions review and figure out, is there site work that needs to happen here. But that's certainly a type of project. There's roof work that has to happen here, that last remaining piece of roof that didn't make the MSBA.
Yeah, the whole 95 addition was not touched during the 2015 project.
Right. And that roof is how old now?
It's, it's 95, so it's 25 years old.
So that'll be coming up in terms of projects.
When we look at the operations supervisor is $80,000 and the Middleton share is $28,000, and is that based on square footage?
Yes.
It is, okay. So the thing, and this is like a total newbie comment, so the thing that makes me nervous about it is, I mean, square footage, but if our buildings are newer and have less issues, then we're paying for square footage, but our buildings are giving less sort of problems. So the problem, the thing that I keep chewing on is we're paying this flat fee and then I don't even know like how much we will use that. You know, if you're, or whoever, the operations manager is busy doing tons of things in Boxford and tons of things in Topsfield, I question whether it was a great investment for Middleton. That's.
Well, look at it this way, you're making the same investment in the superintendent, myself and the rest of the Tri-Town administration. We're all portioned.
Right.
Right,
but like I know particularly for Dr. Morrison, like he'll say, you know, he tries to, I'm going to do this day in Middleton and this day in Boxford, and if something happens and, you know, the roof collapses in Boxford or whatever, you're not going to be able to say, well, I'm sorry, Boxford.
No, you wouldn't. No, you respond appropriately.
Right.
To the issues that arise.
Right. That's sort of.
But you're always striving for the balance.
Sure.
But
sure.
you have to exercise common sense and pursue the priorities and the urgencies.
Right.
It's the the age-old inefficient operation of a union, right? I mean, I think that plays into it. It's an inefficient operation in terms of how we function as a union and not as a region. because of the way we're set up. Steve?
To add to the conversation, but to also tie in with your point. When Howe Manning was being built, there was an incredible amount of time spent by the administration, especially Steve Clifford, to help bring Howe Manning to life.
Sure.
Right, more so, he spent more time in Middleton for several years than the other two towns if we were gonna compare it to a portion.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, but you don't, so when you're looking at the argument and you talk about Boxford and Topsail, you gotta keep in mind how much effort he's put into Middleton over the past years for Howe Manning, Fuller Meadow and the roof, and then the HVAC units, everything else, so it all comes around, so.
Got to be measured in years, not
Right.
months.
And even that, it's
You know.
just, the premise we always say to all the committees is that you're getting retail service at a wholesale price. You're getting a 1.0 all the time. All right, so when we talk about projects, there are projects that are boom bust. But as far as maintenance and care and support of all the buildings, you get 1.0 all the time.
Keep going.
Steve, how many workers do you have?
21?
21? And what are their job titles?
So we have day custodians on all of our campuses. We have night staff on all of our campuses. I have an electrician, and I also have an administrative assistant.
Are the custodians involved in some of these work orders?
I mean, I would, yes, I would term that at a general maintenance level. Anything that requires any technical skills, licensed trade,
Yeah.
no.
So is it just the electrician?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say 95% of the facility workforce is the custodial staff.
Yeah.
Across the 3 towns.
Yeah, so I know you say, overworked, but this is the first year you've asked for the HVAC. And the third year for a supervisor. I think you need more workers, not supervisors.
Yeah, I think the HVAC, Freddie, would be a worker, so to speak, in that
Right.
regard. And I think if you look through the job description of the operations supervisor, there is, quote-unquote, work associated with that particular role. If you take a peek at the job description,
Yeah.
it does dive into that. A big piece of that is the oversight management of the custodial staff for that operations supervisor. That's that's not particularly at night, that we don't have
Yeah.
the level of supervision that happens with our night custodial staff, so a lot of it is built upon trust, and a lot of it is built upon just people hopefully having good character and doing the right things. And we've not always experienced that over the years, right? Over the years, we've had to, have conversations and engage in job actions on people who understand that there might not be a whole heck of a lot of supervision at that time.
Right.
And so that's a piece of it as well, making sure that we're getting a full workday out of everybody.
Okay. All right, why don't we move on to the other side? And what do we want our goal to be? Should we try to get through, I don't know, page 9?
Yeah.
All of them?
I mean, you might want to set an end time,
Yeah.
that might be a way to do it.
Thinking that might be a good idea.
Just because we have executive session as well, but I think,
Okay, we do.
some of them all this is good, right? This is what helps the committee
Right. I
to
think-
develop their thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And you might be hearing things like, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Exactly.
I hadn't viewed it that way. I hadn't thought that, when Howe Manning was being built, Steve probably spent 90% of his time in Middleton, and Topsfield and Boxford might have been getting a little bit, coming up a little bit short
Yep.
at that time frame. So it's just, all of those things, play into the equation.
Yeah. And I think, we're gonna need another meeting. There's a lot of line items
Yeah.
here. So-
Diane's like, she was hoping for that.
I know you love
She
night
was-
meetings.
she was
and
like-
as many as, it's as much as we love those delayed openings.
Before you even go there, can I make one little thing, Steve? I don't know, this is like a drop in the bucket, but it might make people feel a little bit better. So we can, and maybe we can make a decision about this. If we take I have put $5,000 into Appendix Y for library automation. And if we could take that out of the budget and you approve to use the gift account, which has been, the money has been raised by our students, for our students to automate the library, would be a great use of that money. So we could take $5,000 off of that. And then
That'll get us there, I think.
the PTO, well, it's a little drop, right? I need to be positive right now. The PTO, thank you PTO, has volunteered to replace our laminator for $1,409.99. That would be from Appendix J.
Thank you, PTO.
So that would be $6,400. Like that's, woohoo, right?
Woohoo.
So I know that's
already
like
took the
maybe just a
laminator, though. I'm just not-
.09 or something.
So if the committee wanted to vote Dr. Carrero's recommendations of reducing the budget by $5,000, and then $1,000.
Not the
5,000, we're almost there.
Don't do
5,000.
the 1,000, because I think we already took.
Oh, all right, so
We already
$5,000.
took
We already took the.
Laminate, you already accounted for. Steve already accounted for it.
Forget it,
Then I'll
PTO.
come
Go
back,
find
because
something else
the
for-
value that's in the equipment, if you're looking at the budget, I think that was like 5,000 some change, wasn't it? Well, we'll come back to it. Let's just come
Okay.
back to that one, all right?
Sure.
But
Crushing little spirits over there.
I'm not crushing spirits, just keeping it real.
Okay, well, Diane, thank you for that interlude.
Yes.
I
Good.
had to pick it up in here.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone want to make the motion to reduce our budget
Yeah, no, yeah.
by $5,000 for, what is it? Oh,
For
the
library automation
library
and use
automation?
the gift account to do so.
I will make that. Is that two separate?
You can do it.
Two separate.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can do it one.
Okay, and use it
I'll
for,
make the
okay,
motion, sure.
thank you. Anyone want to second that? Great. All those in favor? I'm ready.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Diane.
Thank you.
Okay, we're
Oh, look
getting
at this.
there,
They're
guys.
dialing for dollars.
She's trying to top
Are
Dr.
we really?
Carrero.
Oh, Christine, all right.
You can beat me, that's okay.
No, we all want to go home. So, I was chatting with Steve earlier, when we talked about the math and focus budget line potentially being a warrant item, warrant article item, he did not incorporate the $13,328, I believe, that would be the professional development that could also go
Yeah.
with it in the warrant. So that 13,000 is still in the existing budget that we could take out if that's the route the committee wants to go.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's, I think, so yes. And I think we need to do a little more work with the town on the warrant article end of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's a good idea, and to tie in with what you're saying, we just don't know, as Scott's saying it, and it's hitting me, we just don't know where they're gonna come back
Yeah,
with in
so we
terms
need
of
to-
capital request capacity.
We just need to sit on that one for a minute. But that's good knowledge to have. Yep.
Thanks, Christine. Okay, so I think, I'm still having a hard time understanding the reconfiguration enhancement of IT support, and I don't know why, because it seems like this is a win-win, but maybe without Steve Goditis here to.
Steve can probably take it.
Okay. Or Steve Greenberg here
All right,
to
so
help us, or help me.
I'm going to be succinct and direct, and hopefully I'm answering the question. The bottom line is what happens for Middleton is that right now you have a 1.0 person. We're talking just a specific person. That person will get shared across the three towns. So that gets reduced to a 0.4. All right? Now, what we want to say is we want to bring in an entry-level person to help fill that gap. So the net impact is it would wind up being a 1.4. You'd add a whole nother person at an entry level, and that impact on Middleton is about $15,000. Is that making sense?
We're splitting our existing employee.
Yes.
We're now.
And then so we save money with that, and we want to take some of
But
the.
how does that affect, what value does that give to?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
So what's happening is, and now you have two people supporting Middleton, even though it's more because you have a network supervisor and you have another one that you share. But I want to stay focused on this piece. You're increasing the number of people on the ground in Middleton to support end user tech you know, especially when we talk about equitable access and how it's expanding, not just in terms of the number of units, but what that technology is. So we're growing it, and you're gonna have to grow it. As you progress and you look at this stuff and all that supports it, that you're gonna need more people to take care of it so that you don't lose time on learning. And we're trying to do that. We're trying to build that slowly. And the investment that we're recommending to the committee to consider is small compared to your return on investment, especially if you're picking up more time on learning. I think you used the example, 10 minutes. If you're picking up 10 minutes a day times the 180 days, when you translate that into the number of hours, he had a real good one. I can't do the mental math like that. But that's just an example of it. That's what we're trying to take care of.
It's trying to increase in efficiency too. Again, one of the other things we've talked about with Christy and her role as TTU chair is like, are there efficiencies that can be gleaned across Tri-Town? IT is one of those that we can be more efficient in, because if we have Tri-Town people working IT, we can now move people across state lines, so to speak. And when there's an IT problem, you're not like, okay, well, sorry, we can't bring the Boxer person over. Moving the person from Middleton into a district-wide role allows the ability to have more flexibility in IT, and then backfilling it with an entry-level person. So the money you save on salary, by switching that person over to a Tri-Town model, by adding about 15,000 to it, you pick up a full 1.0 IT support.
And maybe it's the entry-level component that, like, you know, I feel like we're losing someone that has been groomed and sitting in Middleton, so knows knows our district, right? I don't know what the level of experience is, but high degree of experience. So, okay, and now
I can respond to that.
Okay.
And I will say to you that several years when we implemented the IT support teams, you know, go back several years when we put it in place, that it took several years to get it, first of all. And then when we finally did, and we did start with entry level, and we got excellent people to start. And yes, we've transitioned through, and I look at how far we've come with Ms. Moores, with Ryan Savage. They were entry-level people, and they hit the ground running. They've done exceptional work. We want to continue to invest in them, grow them so that we keep them for the long term, and I'm telling you that we'll find the same caliber of people as entry-level again. I don't mean to sound like Donald Trump, but, you know. Anyways, that's, we'll find them again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments?
Want to go to library?
Yep. Okay, so increasing the library support from 10 hours per week to 20 hours per week. So that's a 10-hour additional 10-hour request for a library associate, making this a 20-hour position. The extra hours for the library associate will include library maintenance and some teaching responsibilities.
This is both schools.
Well, this
This
one
is
she's talking about
just
is
for
Fuller
Fuller
Meadow, but
Meadow.
we're asking for the same thing as
Right.
Howell Manning.
And is it the same, I know, I think I asked this on Saturday, is it the same? Are we bringing in two people that are benefit, so what does this person look like, and how, is it one person, it's a 30-hour position, or it's two?
I don't think it could be a 30-hour position for one person because of the timing of
We're
what's
saying 20
necessary.
hours.
Okay.
Could be increasing existing.
Could it be
Make up
one
the 30
person?
What really happened?
It could be, but it really is going to be more about our specialist schedule and what we need for that. So I don't think that we put it in there thinking that we would be looking for one person to do it. I think we were, but if it worked out that way, fine, but it really is more about what is most effective for our schedules, our specialist
Separate
schedules.
schedules.
So it's 10 additional hours at Howell Manning, 10 additional hours at Fuller Meadow.
So it's
It's
10,
actually-
yeah, it's
it's
10
actually-
additional hours at Fuller Meadow.
Yep.
It's
Just 10
just 10 hours.
Okay.
Because,
Yeah.
so Maria Morgan teaches Mia Morgan teaches all 4 sections there.
Yeah.
She teaches 2 sections here, and then Mrs. Daniels teaches one grade level here. So, so both of their time here is just that one, their respective grade levels, and same thing with neither one of them have like any extra time to do with the other things that happen in the library, which are things like pull books for teachers, do other things for teachers, restocking the shelves, going through and sifting through books and retiring books that maybe aren't appropriate anymore or don't belong here anymore, things like that.
I personally think, and I said this on Saturday, I think this is money well spent because Jen and I actually, our kids are in the same kindergarten class and we share library duties. And I mean, I see what it is, particularly at the kindergarten level, to manage that many kids just to make sure everybody is safe and hopefully learning something. I don't understand how she does it. And there's stacks of books and I think Mia does a fantastic job with managing with what she has, but I think it could be so much better. And it's just, it's $6,500. I think it's money. If you said it was $20,000, I'd say, I don't know. But I feel like for $6,500, it would really benefit a lot of people.
If you remember last year, I had a full-time librarian. Howe Manning had a full-time librarian. And we cut most of our librarian here.
Okay.
And we did so thinking, like, we're gonna see how it goes.
Correct. Yeah.
And then our librarian ended up, the person who was gonna share, she left. We had someone new come in, and we sort of placed it like, we don't know how this is gonna work. We think there's enough time, but neither one of us have ever been school librarians. We don't have that experience to know, can the job be done by one person and then 10 additional hours? And she has come back to tell us that in her experience from, the beginning of the school year to now, it's not, she has so many innovative, amazing ideas, and she can't put them to fruition. Her volunteers are, luckily we have them, but they're here to, help manage the library, and we're not able to move forward.
Does the automation system that we're putting in, does that alleviate some of the work that the parent, while they're here, would have to do? I don't know the
answer to that. I mean, I think it would probably quicken that part,
Yeah.
the checking in, checking out, but books still need to be reshelved. Books still need to be fixed. I think she's got a stack in the book hospital that can't get back on the shelves because there's nobody to fix them.
We also didn't do the birthday club, right?
We did not do the birthday club.
That's a bummer. I mean, my kids they'd love getting a book with either theirs or their friends, or it's just a really, I think, a great program. The thing that sort of stands out to me all of the things that you just listed are important, but I think it's the collaboration with teachers. Like, instead of it just being, sit on the floor, we're gonna read a book for 40 minutes. Like, if she has that time to meet with the teacher ahead of time and say, this is what we're talking about. Maybe you could put this into your lesson plan for the day and make it more than just the book and do the one-sheeter. I get that feeling from her that she has so much more to offer, but there's just no time. So.
And she has done 2 libraries before in her previous world. She did 2 libraries before, but I think there was more support. So that's why we're going this route. But certainly, I don't believe we need 2 librarians within our school district, but I do think we need some extra support. And I think that we made that decision knowing that we could be coming back and saying, it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction to save some money, and now we've kind of, we need a little bit more.
Okay. Jeff, what's your position? Because you're asking for similar.
Yeah, we're asking for just the 10 hours right now. We have none of it. It would be a tremendous help in terms of the use that the library gets. I think it is, it's underutilized in terms of as a teacher resource. And I think a lot of that has to do with the time. She's teaching classes all day. And so there is not that time to pull books that, connected text for the classroom to give to the teachers. I think the automation does help. It's not as big an issue. I don't think there's also as many books to repair at Howe Manning, just with the older kids being able to use them more appropriately. But it would be an asset to that program, because she does. I mean, there's a lot of things that she wants to do that that aren't done. I think our library is underutilized as well. It's open and unoccupied for most of the afternoon when she's over here. Simply because, again, teachers would have to bring the entire class to the library versus being able to send a kid to the library during, to gather resources and do research, because there's no adult in the library to manage it. So having another body there would just increase the amount of time that the kids would be able to use the library as well.
All right. Okay, thank you. Why don't we do, can we do one more?
Sure.
Okay, let's go to the kindergarten assistants. Diane, I'm still trying to wrap my arms around what you're asking for.
So my original ask was to put an extra adult in every kindergarten classroom. That was,
For the full day.
that was my original
Yes,
ask.
okay.
That has since been pared down to put those extra hands in the classroom for half the day. So instead of asking for 5.0, we're asking for 2.5. So what that would look like, when we think about 5 classrooms, it would probably be about half a person, one person half of a day. So whether it's in the morning or the afternoon, so about 3 hours a day.
Is that 5 different people?
Not necessarily. It might be, it might not be. Chances are I'm not going to find 5 people who want to work part-time. So maybe I would. I guess we would put it out there and see. I just know that both of us have had struggles this year finding instructional assistants, so I can't imagine we would find 5 half-time people. We may. So it could be 2.5 people. You know, it would really depend on being creative with that. And it really is just to be an extra set of eyes and ears and hands in the classroom for Fuller Meadows' youngest students, who some of them don't have a preschool experience or have very different experience. Some of our kids are in daycare and then they come to us. We know about half of our students, the other half come from area preschools, and we don't know about them. So sometimes you get a class that you know most of your students because they're at Howe Manning, or sometimes we have classes that we don't, and then we come up with, you know, surprises and things that we weren't really expecting or planning, or we have group dynamics that we don't necessarily, we don't have a lot of control over.
So, again, my understanding is, I know we have aides in the classroom already.
Yes.
2 per grade class?
There is no magic number for that. So it really depends on students with disabilities and the IEPs that there are, and the needs that their IEPs dictate what supports they need within the classroom.
Okay, but is there an expectation of those aides that, you know, what is the expectation of those aides in the classroom as it relates to other students in the classroom?
So there really isn't an expectation about the other students. Their first and foremost priority is that they're supporting the students with disabilities who have IEPs who state that they require that service within the classroom. Obviously, if a student is doing well or isn't needing the support, you know, we don't want students to be you know, hung up on having an adult, and we want to build their own capacity and their independence. So, you know, the IAs know that they need to pull back, and but, you know, we do have some students who require, you know, assistance for safety, assistance for allergies, lots of different things. So it really depends on the child and the needs.
And why is this in the budget? Why is this an ask this year? Is there something that's motivating or, you know, accelerating?
I think I've had a lot of feedback from families.
Okay.
Every year at the parent orientation night, I get people asking, does every classroom have an assistant? You know, my answer is no, it's based on student need. You know, feedback from, you know, parents calling and saying, you know, why does this classroom have an assistant and this one doesn't? And you know, it's just the needs of our students seem to be greater as they're coming in, and so to answer your original question, that would be why the need is there.
the class coming in, and this is blind, I'm asking, because I haven't looked recently, is it greater than, the number's greater than what we have currently? Is it projected to be greater than what we have currently?
Registration?
Yeah.
So, yes, it is.
Or
Not by
comparable,
NESDEC.
or, you know.
NESDEC does not suggest that. However, the latest numbers are, we're at about 90.
Yeah. And what
So-
are we at right currently?
They're at 86.
Is 86, okay.
And so 90 in February, that's a lot. I would anticipate we'll realize 10 more, I'm sure, at least 10 more.
Okay, and we're not anticipating the need for another
I
teacher?
wouldn't be coming to you to ask for that. However, we haven't talked about sections yet. So right now, I have 5 first grade, 7, so no, 5 kindergarten, 7 first grade, 5 second grade. And right now, I know that we will have 5 kindergarten and 5 first grade. And I'm still on the fence, and it's really too early for me to predict if we will have 7 second grades, or if one of those second grades will bump down to kindergarten. Both K and incoming grade 2 numbers, in my opinion, are quite volatile. They're coming and going, and so we don't know what will happen. So I think that I would like to give it some more time before I make as informed decision as I can before we say, yes, it's going to be 7 second grades, or it's going to be 6. Because the numbers in first grade right now are, I think we have as low as 14, but then we might have a 16 or a 17, which really doesn't necessarily warrant 7 sections.
I know.
However, I would anticipate we would be gaining more for second grade, but I can't predict that. So, so I don't know. But I wouldn't be asking for another section. I would just be asking for, your support when I make a decision based on our enrollment at that time.
Yes, okay. All right. Do you guys have any other questions or comments?
I'm just going to repeat what I said on Saturday, that the two that I feel the most strongly about are the library and the kindergarten assistant. Just my experience in the school, watching the different classrooms, some of the classrooms, the kindergarten classrooms, behave more like a K1, and some of them are more of a pre-K K. It depends, and I like the fact that we talked about this on Saturday, that you would be able to sort of deploy the person or people as necessary. I just think more eyes in the classroom, particularly where I think there are a lot more kids coming in that don't have pre-K experience or not Hal Manning pre-K experience. So it's just a different setup here, and it's different faces, different friends, different everything. So to have, another adult friend in the room would probably make them more at ease and make the transition a little bit better. Just my 2 cents.
I mean, I agree as well. I mentioned it earlier, just from experience of being in the kindergarten class, and I always felt strongly about needing a second set of eyes. And I guess I always thought, like when my son was in kindergarten, I always thought that they had an aide, but it was really a student teacher or whatever, you know what I mean? But I always felt that a second set of eyes was very helpful and necessary.
So Steve, with the levels and the 2.1 million from Diane, where did that put us, you said?
1 second.
You're making me feel bad. I thought that was a really good win.
It was.
Yeah, 5 even.
5 even. That was like, got that point what?
627,557 or 5%.
So just, as we, I know Kristen, you talked about probably need another meeting, and so, I think at the next meeting, it would be, nurse assistant, tech hardware, special education teacher, speech and language, guidance, and pre-K aid, would be the remaining items for discussion, and then the committee you know, looking to make decisions around, you know, that last 1%, which Steve represent how much again? About 125?
125,000.
Yeah.
So is tech hardware in still, or is,
Tech hardware's,
Most likely a warrant, we have to, you know, that it might.
but right now it's in the 220?
No.
It's not, we've taken it out.
Correct, that's because that's just been the practice
Okay.
for the last couple of years, because people were getting confused.
Right.
That it would show in both.
That number might get polished, in conversation with the town, but
Yeah, but that has, you're right, and it has no impact on,
Yeah.
on the budget right now.
on the operating budget.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Is everyone comfortable with stopping the deliberation on the budget now and reconvening? We'll pick a date that works for everyone.
Sure.
To continue the conversations? Okay.
And I think you would want, you know, either at that meeting or at the, you know, our initial meeting in March, you know, to making some,
Start making some decisions.
decisions on, you know, the path that the committee wants to take.
Okay. And Christie's not here either, so.
Right.
It's important that she be here.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So what's on?
So do you want to look at dates before we?
Yes, why don't we do that? Okay.
So the
You
March,
guys want to look at dates? Yep.
the
go
March
ahead.
meeting is the 4th.
Mhm. Why don't we? All right, well, should we stick with a Wednesday night? Are we restricted to a Wednesday night? Is there, we don't have to do a night, we could do
Yeah, I
a
mean-
different time? I mean, we have some flexibility, I suppose, here.
We've done that. If there is that flexibility, I can tell you from leadership team perspective, a day meeting is certainly
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
Because we have the 3 towns doing 2 meetings each, you know, per month right now.
Right. So.
It's tricky when you take February break out of the. It gets a lot smaller.
I don't know. I'm fine at night. I can't probably do any earlier than 5:30.
Yeah.
Unless it was a day, perhaps the 14th or the 28th, Friday, during the day. Freddie, what's your schedule? You don't have availability during the day, right?
No.
Okay. So it has to be after work, or after school, or after a
You
certain
can
hour?
do without me.
Nope, we want you here, Freddie.
We want everybody.
Result may be the same.
Yeah, it might be.
Will we not have time if we do the March meeting?
I think we need, yeah.
You probably need another one, Freddie, I think, yeah.
Okay, so let me start throwing out some dates.
Because we are actually, so let's, excuse me for interrupting.
Yes.
We are at FinCom, Kristen, on the 26th,
25th.
is that what it is, Steve?
25th, 26th?
Yep, I have it 26th.
26th, right.
And that's when we need to,
Well, just give them an update as
them
to where
an
we are
update,
in the
okay.
process, so you might want to, you know, tuck it prior to the 26th.
okay, so the challenge is that we have the whole week of the 17th off.
Hmm.
So does that mean there's no ability to have a meeting?
Yeah, I'd have to check with the team. I don't know if people are here or not here, or whatever the case may be.
The week of
The 17th,
vacation.
Yeah.
school vacation
Um,
week.
I'm only out of town Monday, Tuesday of that week. Then I'll be back.
What is the plans of our committee members?
I'm here on the tail end of the week, the Thursday, Friday.
Okay, I don't think that's gonna work.
I'm here,
Probably not.
I don't think I'm gonna be here.
yeah,
All right,
Now you're looking at.
so we're looking at the week of the 10th or the week of the 24th.
Yeah.
I'm fine the 24th. I'm fine the 24th. Can you guys do the 24th?
24.
Finance committee is in the library here.
So we might have to be in the PD Center.
Okay, is everyone okay with the 24th?
I will not be here the 24th.
Okay. Would you like to suggest a different day that works for you?
No. I will not be here the 24th, though.
25th? We do it the 25th?
We have a
Freddie,
Topsfield working session on the 25th.
How about the
Middleton-
26th?
Well, we have a
Middleton
FinCom meeting, but we could do it earlier.
If we want to try to do it before the FinCom,
We could.
we could do that.
I have trouble getting here early unless I can get someone to get my dog. from
Yeah.
gymnastics, but, I mean, I can come in late. What time is early?
Well, we'd have to be done by 7, 6:30, 6:45. Where's
Probably
the-
have to be done by, yeah, I don't know if we'll be on exactly at 7 at FinCom, but I think we'd have to be done by like 10 of 7. It's probably at Town Hall, so it's a short little drive. If you did like a 5:15 to a 6:45, it's 90 minutes to get through those
Yeah.
last couple of,
I might get here a little like 5:30, 5:40, but you can, that's fine.
Okay, all right, and you can always share with me your comments?
Yeah.
and Questions, because I can.
okay.
Okay, so how about 5:15 on the 26th?
With a hard end.
The hard end at,
And it'll be the only agenda item. You know what I mean? There won't be
Okay.
anything else on the agenda.
okay.
So it'll be a good, 90 minutes to get through those remaining items. Middleton School Committee budget meeting. And
we
Diana's,
should be able to do it here?
I'm just gonna ask the same question.
What time, Kristen?
So
At 5:15.
on the calendar, it says Master
5:15.
Development Planning Committee
Okay.
info session.
Cafeteria though.
Oh, that's in the CAF, yep. So we should be fine. I'm surprised they're planning that on the same night as FinCom.
Yeah. Why not, is Paul back there? Paul would know. Paul? Are we free that night? 26th at 5:15? All right, that'll work.
Okay.
That'll
Yep.
work. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, so our meeting is going to be, the next meeting we'll have is on February 26th, 5:15 to 6:45,
Yep.
here.
And the goal being getting through remaining items and possibly engaging in dialogue and debate about the direction that the committee may want to hit.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Maybe we'll bring a salad in for pizza or something, so we don't.
Not if we're in the library. We can eat in the PD center if you'd like, but we cannot eat in the library.
All right. Nothing
Okay.
in correspondence?
Okay. All right, so why don't we, anything in other?
Nope. Oh, no other. Even if I
That
did,
other
no.
folder?
Even if I did, no.
All right, good. Okay, so, bills and payroll, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the bills and payroll, as stated on the form in front of us for week ending?
As listed.
As listed, I will make that motion, okay?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, so we are going to.
We need to put a motion for executive session with a roll call in with the sole reason of returning is to adjourn from regular session.
Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Thank
Get
you.
a roll call in.
Okay, roll call in.
Frank Clapp.
Hi, Natasha Bansfield.
Hi, Jen Pesci.
Hi, Kristen Richardson.
Great.
Great.
All right, we'll give Paul a
Thank
minute
you, guys.
to disconnect.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.